I do care that you've been gassing your own people all night. If you up, protesting, smash that like button. Welcome to Black and Black Infinity. I'm your host, Cthulhu's Brother, coming to you live and direct from the stack. Smoke me out, fam, with that dang shit on my left. Oldest ninja in the world, Old Ninja.
What a difference a week makes.
Yes, yes, yes. On my far right, engineering on the ones and twos, choking people out on the force, Chronos.
Orange jumpsuits look great on murderers. I'm just saying, all four of them.
Last but not least, we got your boy Stitch.
The revolution is being televised.
I was thinking about using that one too. I'm glad I didn't.
I was worried you might do that one. Once I got past yours, I was like, all right, I think I'm good.
Yeah,
but I had a plan B.
I was close. To using that one.
Usually, Chronos, you got someone that you're highlighting as the listener of the week.
Yeah, which I can.
We're gonna follow some show protocols.
Yeah. So actually, what's funny is I put listener of the week, and then I pulled the. I actually wrote it down on a list, and then I forgot.
Mm-hmm.
So hold on, I know who it is. It's actually somebody I work with that I didn't know that was this person. So let me pull up his actual username so I don't shout him out like his whole name.
Don't dox people.
I am Henrique, who I know as Henry. Obviously, I'm not gonna say his full name, but he works with me, and I was like, that name sounds familiar. And then I look at like the photo that he has on SoundCloud, and I was like, oh shit, that's him. So thank you for listening. I appreciate it, or we all appreciate it. So hopefully you don't change your opinion to me at work. But we're the two youngest guys at work. So.
Oh wow.
Like literally,
that's kind of cool.
There was a guy who he had a work anniversary today, and he's been working at our job for longer than I've been alive, by a lot. Damn. So I was like, holy shit, man.
That's humbling.
Yeah.
Do we have? I know we got the live chat going. We got anybody all the way up in there? We're a little late.
Clay is in the house. Thank you very much, Clay. Ooh. He's in. Actually, you know what's funny about? Well, not funny. What's interesting about Clay's situation is that obviously, he lost his job. Unfortunately, he's a really good bartender. But then, like right after that, basically everybody lost their fucking job. So, I hope you're getting unemployment. I hope you're getting all these benefits. It's a hard time to be alive right now. Hopefully, people are gonna make new businesses that require good bartenders like yourself. Listen, if I had a restaurant, if I had a bar, I'd hire you. Easily, but I don't have businesses like that, and technically right now almost nobody does. So, but if I ever get a chance to open up a restaurant or something like that, man, or a bar, you're on the top of the list.
Stiff upper lip, keep looking, stay safe, most importantly, and we appreciate you. Old Ninja, you're back on the air, back from suspension.
Wow.
Are you pouring out anything specific? Obviously, there's a lot that you could be poured out, and I think will be shortly.
Hold on, bro.
But,
this is really relevant. He basically pulled a Drew Brees on the podcast.
Yeah.
It's all good though.
I'm not gonna comment because it's gonna deter from what we're talking about. I had to go to the Lazarus.
Oh, now you're serious? Okay.
No. I mean, if you want to go back, I called out one of your boys and then pointed it at you, and
it wasn't
I'm
even
the
his
bad
boy.
guy.
It wasn't.
Wait a minute.
It is his boy. It is his boy.
Wait a minute.
Big up each other. All the time.
Out it. Jesus Christ.
Moving on.
We're gonna mute your goddamn mic this month. I know we're gonna mute your mic again. You're gonna get another suspension. 10 games.
We need that guy from
50 games.
That guy from the Apollo. What was his name? The Sandman dude from Apollo about to come out and snatch you off the fucking air again.
Do you have any contributions to your pouring out of malt beverages to start off the show?
To all those who have lost their lives through injustice in the last week or so. So RIP for you, pouring out some of that, what is it? Fiji water. There you go.
Very nice.
Yeah.
All right. We have previously started off like, I don't know, last 8 or 9 fucking shows in a row. I think we took a break last week, but the ones previously with like some Rona report.
Yeah.
Rona done took
It's like
a
the
bad
Royal Rumble
fucking
where
seat.
like a new thing comes to the ring and just tosses it over the top rope.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
what's the Rona? What's that?
Yeah, well, people are gonna find out in 2 weeks. I mean, it's already spiking. People just kind of forgot about it, but it's still there. You know, it's unfortunate, but this message is also very important. You know, what's weird for me, I'm semi on the fence about, you know, as far as like health and safety goes, because the Rona's out there and we're having these protests, and it's like, I don't want anybody to die, but we keep fucking dying. You know what I mean? Like, I wish the Rona could just fucking go away. I wish it would have never existed. But the fact that we have people that are continually brutalized by people of authority, that's a big deal. And I don't want to say it's controversial for me to say, but it's kind of worth it. But I don't want anybody to die from this shit, you know, from the Rona. But the message needs to get out there. And the fact that the vast majority of the country was already shut down, got even more shut down because people are sick and tired of seeing this fucking bullshit. It's, if you're a person of color and you have dealt with these issues for, you know, your whole life, seeing the nation come together like this for you and your people that look like you is an amazing thing. But I just hope that the Rona doesn't take a lot of people. Oh shit, Blue is here.
Blue from the top rope.
Guys, sorry. I mean,
Damn.
I'm pretty sure I'm gonna give a reason why I'm not here, but you know, I had to join. Like, you know, this podcast is an outlet, and you know, with everything that's going on in the world, like, I definitely need to be here on the podcast. So I'm definitely coming from you live from LA down in Southern California from my hotel room. So it's not the normal background you'll see with me, but I'm definitely here for the podcast.
If you want to say
Holy
while you're there,
shit.
feel free. If you don't, then it's fine because we didn't say anything.
Yeah. So the reason why I'm down here is because if you're a friend, if you're one of a family member, you probably know that my dad passed away last Friday. He died. Sorry, he died at the age of 78. He would have been 79 this year, but yeah, you know, it's just been kind of crazy for him the last couple of years with him battling dementia and all different kind of health issues. And it was kind of sad because, like, literally the day before, when I was talking to my brother, like last Thursday, my dad wasn't eating. Like, they put him in hospice care or something like that.
care.
Yeah, I cannot. That's a word I can't say.
That's
But
okay, man.
yeah, he wasn't eating, and like literally like the next morning, like he was gone. So I'm definitely down here for that. But like everything that's happening in the world right now, it's like fuck. Like, can 2020 get any crazier? Because we have like the fucking riots, we have like the police shit that's happening, we got the protesting and the sheltering in place, got the coronavirus. Like literally today, I was sitting inside my hotel. Like, it's funny because I was sitting inside my hotel room, and like I had to go to the bathroom, and I was literally sitting on the toilet, and a fucking earthquake hit. I'm like, fuck, are you serious? Like,
Die shitting.
I was like, if this building collapsed right now, 2020 has won. But it's just crazy. But like, I got to spend time with some family members. I was with my auntie a little bit earlier. I just had dinner with my niece, who I haven't seen in like probably like a good 4 or 5 years. It's because she's been away in college, and like catching up with her. But like with everything being closed and like, you know, restaurants are slowly opening up, like it was pretty hard to find like a place to eat at. And like once we did, like they had to close early because they were expecting rioting to happen. So like we were there for like maybe a good 30 minutes or so. Like we rushed the order in. I got a quick drink in, and like that was it. Like I had to leave because LA has a curfew that I think it's at 9 or 10. So like I barely got back to the hotel in time, but it's crazy, man. It's really fun, crazy. Like even the drive down here was insane because I drove down here, and just driving on the Highway 5 was kind of ridiculous because, dude, there's no fucking traffic. Like, I drove basically 85 the whole way down here. Like, I had the cruise control set, and I barely ever had to, like, slow down. The only reason I slowed down because the truck was passing up another truck. And, like, that's kind of unheard of nowadays. But then, like, when I would go, like, I had to stop to get gas, and, like, all the places in the area were, like, empty. Like, the gas stations had, like, no cars. Like, the McDonald's had, like, no fucking line. Like, Starbucks had no line. Like, there was, like, nobody out. And it was, like, it was fucking eerie, dude. It was really fucking eerie.
Wow.
It's kind of sad, but yeah, but that's just my journey right now that I'm on.
Well,
And
this was
Sorry.
this is
Just
for
to
you,
add on
Glenn.
to that too, with the coronavirus, like, you know, the funeral arrangement that's going on, like, only the service is going to be really small. Like, it's only going to be 10 people that are going to actually be there for the service just because of the whole coronavirus, and like a lot of family members can't go because of that, the whole shelter in place and social distancing. But like, you know, the service might be streamed on YouTube, so people can participate that way, which is nutty. Like, I know my dad knew like a lot of people, and like limited to a certain amount of people is kind of crazy, but even like trying to find a place to go to is kind of crazy too, because like some places they're booked for a couple of weeks, so who even knows when like we'll actually be able to have a service. But it's a crazy time we're living in right now, guys. It's really fucking crazy.
we're so sorry, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This,
Saying that, I mean,
our condolences to you and your whole family. We're glad to see you out here. I see you got the mini bar of what is that? A mini old fashioned?
no, it's a little Tabasco thing.
What the
Well, it's crazy because like there's no bars open. Like
Yeah.
the hotel has a restaurant and full bar, but they're all closed because of the whole COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta-
And like, you know, it's kind of sorry. I know we've got a whole bunch of other crazy
No,
things
it's
to talk
fine,
about,
man.
but like
This is your time.
Okay.
the restaurant here in the hotel is closed. Like, you only can order food through like Uber Eats and stuff like that, and like they have to deliver it. But like, it's interesting to see how these hotels are handling the coronavirus, because the hotel I'm staying at a DoubleTree by Hilton, and like they have like a little dispenser by the elevator, and it has like little tissues in there where you can grab a tissue to use to push the buttons on the elevator to have the elevator come up or go down or whatever. And that's like how they're keeping like everybody social distancing and kind of keeping the area clean. But like, there's no housekeeping right now either. Like, I mean, you can have them come by if you need like more towels or something. They'll leave it outside of your room, but like, they're not coming to your room to clean your room every day or anything. They only come in there once you check out. And like, this hotel is empty, dude. Like, I would say this hotel probably can hold like maybe 150 people. Like, it's a pretty small hotel, but like, dude, there's only like maybe 10 to 20 cars in the parking lot. And I got here like at 11 p.m. when I checked in, and I've only seen like maybe 5 people. Not even that, like
Wow.
maybe 3 people. Like, I saw one person when I was getting off the elevator. I saw like some people checking in this morning. It's fucking eerie as hell. Like, I'm used to like going downstairs and see people like socializing downstairs, sitting in like the common area, chit chatting, or like hitting up the bar and like conversating with like some of the locals that go to hotels to have drinks. Like, it's fucking nutty. It's so weird. But then like when I went to my grandmother's house, like my grandmother's 99 years old, and she outlived 2 of her sons. And me going there, I was like, I wasn't scared about like seeing her and like everything that's happened. I was more scared that, you know, here I am from like Northern California visiting my grandmother, and I don't know if I have the coronavirus. Like, it's so like the symptoms doesn't always hit you. And I'm thinking like, fuck, what if I come in here and just I'm the reason why she passes away or something like that. Like, it's fucking heartbreaking, dude. Like, this shit is no fucking joke. Seriously. Crazy.
Well, I know it's no condolence at all. You should borrow some of those tissues by the elevator and just whack one off, man. You know what I mean? Bust a few loads in there.
God damn.
Man, there's toilet paper in the hotel. I got that.
Treat yourself to some pay-per-view.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Dude, what are you talking about? I have my laptop. I have the fucking internet. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna pay for something.
But sometimes it's just the whole symbolic thing. You're like, you know what? I'm gonna splurge on myself.
Yeah, right.
And just drop the extra $9.99 and turn the volume all the way up. Yeah, turn the volume all the way up.
One cool thing is like behind me, like there's supposed to be a bench or whatever, but I got my VR set up, so you know how.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Hotel VR
Hey.
pussy.
Hey,
Oh, yeah.
Ella Darling would be proud of you.
Yeah, I should text her, like, hey man, you know,
Don't do
let me
that.
work out.
Well, dude, we
So
appreciate-
Blue, real quick, Blue, in order to your pops, this is your drink right here. This is Jack and Root Beer.
Thank you.
RP your
nice.
pops, man.
Yeah, good one.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. indeed, man.
All right.
Ugh.
Damn. There's so much.
There's no easy transition in the.
Yeah, there isn't. There isn't. What I mean, do you want to try to kick it off a little bit, Stitch? Because we're all going to jump in here, I know. But go
Well,
if you want to try starting it.
This might be like the world's most easiest like alley-oop or whatever. So there's no really eloquent way to throw into this. I mean, we did talk about this last week, I believe, initially. But since then, and it's sort of funny because we always talk in our little side group chats that everything seems to pop off on a Thursday right after we record or whatever. And shit popped off and everything over the past week. We've seen it all, and I'm just sort of giving a brief summary. I mean, unless you've been living under a rock or out in space or whatever, you know what's been going on throughout.
Hold on. Let's give some
Most
context.
people,
Hold on, real quick, because I'll let you say what you need to say, but I recognize that as I was recording solo, that shit on YouTube is probably going to last way longer than this. So we should probably premise on
Good point.
the date and what's happened previous to what we're talking about. So go ahead and set that up. Tell the date and then tell them what's going on right now.
today is what, the 3rd of June?
Yeah.
Yep.
2020.
Yep.
Yeah, June 3rd, 2020. We talked about it last week about it just happened to be that there was a slew of incidents involving police. We talked about the Ahmaud Arbery incident with the jogger who was shot and killed by two people that assumed he was breaking the house in the neighborhood, rolled up with a truck, shot him. Then we also talked about the bird watching Karen lady, as it's put, who was told about having her dog on a leash and decided to try to weaponize the police against this black man and say that she was being assaulted or attacked by this black man who simply just asked her to put the dog on the leash. And then we had just saw the George Floyd incident where we saw a person who, and at the time we talked about the details being potentially like a forgery call, but it turns out that he was, it was suspected of he had a fake $20 bill.
$20.
$20 bill, and the police encountered him, and there's something happened in terms of they're still trying to. I've seen various videos. I haven't seen the body camera footage on it, but they essentially put him in a choke. Oh no, sorry. They had him on the ground, handcuffed and detained, and this officer, last name was Chauvin, put his knee on this dude's neck and let it sit there for about 8 to 9 minutes. And this dude, we watched this guy's life be extinguished in front of us. And people, it was a combination of, I don't like saying the perfect storm, but with everything going on in this country, people just had fucking enough. For those of you that haven't seen like the movie Do the Right Thing with Spike Lee, where it just being a hot fucking summer, it took was that one little thing, and we throwing trash cans through windows or whatever in that movie per se. Since last week when we briefly touched about it, all across your major cities in the United States and even in other major cities across the fucking globe, people have been protesting. Most of them, that cannot be forgotten, most of them are protesting peacefully in terms of gathering in large crowds and just saying his name over and over again, demanding that justice be brought against that officer and the other 3 officers that were complicit in standing by and watching this man's life be taken in front of everyone in the state.
Let me be clear about one thing, though, by what you just said. So, not only were one man was complicit, one man protected the 3 other people. So, when everybody talks about this murder, they always focus on the Chauvin guy, right? Because he was obviously had the knee on the neck. But there are 2 other officers there that were also holding him down on top of him, so he couldn't fucking move. And then another officer.
Three.
Yeah. What's up?
I thought it was 3.
Yeah, if you can do math, 1 on the neck, 2 on the body. That's 3 people.
I thought it was 4 total, 3 him and 3 others. But
yeah, it is 4 total. What let me finish, man. Like there was one guy was protecting all of them from anybody from helping them. One guy had the knee in the neck, the Chauvin guy, and then 2 other officers also were on George Floyd that contributed to his murder. So when we first talked about this last week, I think we all kind of assumed that they would just be arrested and this would kind of go away, but they half-stepped, and I'll let Stitch say the rest. So.
Well, yeah. Before I get into the legal aspect of it, but yeah. And I saw that the one guy's name, I guess, was Thao or so. I don't want to butcher the pronunciation on it, but I did not know what the other officers' names were until today when they announced that they were arrested. So, I have no problem saying these officers' names or whatever, and publicly shaming them for what they did and their role in it. A lot of other people were like, "We need to know George Floyd's name," and I'm fine with that, and it needs to be known. But I have no problem with shaming the motherfuckers that are responsible for his death and letting people know who the murderers are in this. Since then, I can't remember if it was the day we recorded or shortly thereafter, but that officer was arrested. It was like a 24-hour time period where Chauvin was arrested.
Well, no, it wasn't. It definitely wasn't 24 hours. It was days. I think it was 4 days.
No,
I'm sorry. He was arrested. He was fired.
From recording.
Oh, he was fired. He was fired right away. Yeah. But
I'm sorry. I apologize. He was fired in a 24-hour time period, and charges were being looked at and everything. And essentially, that's when everyone started to get upset, protesting, hitting the streets, chanting, and essentially that's where we're gonna, I guess, jump into the conversation. That's the backstory on where we're at now. We're now in day 8 of this.
Yeah.
And a lot has gone on since then. So there's gonna be a lot of time dedicated to this topic, I'm sure. So I think the best structure for this is to just sort of break it down as best chronologically, so we're not completely hopping around, just so viewers can sort of follow it. So one of you guys jump in on, we already sort of talked about the incident. I think we should maybe talk about the the period in time from the incident to the firing to the arrest of Chauvin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So go ahead.
No. You feel free.
Chauvin's been arrested sometime last week. I can't recall the exact date, man. Some of these days are blending certainly fucking together. I'm sure you can fact check and give an exact date. Maybe it was that Thursday or Friday. I'm not sure.
Well, one thing.
One
thing I just kind of jump in there real quick. I was muted, but there was more footage that was released about when the whole arrest had taken place that we didn't really touch on. But there's footage from a store that shows the cops confronting George on the street, and from the videos that they show, there's never where anything shown of him resisting arrest. Basically, they pretty much just grabbed him and pulled him out into the street, and then seeing the different camera angles. Before a lot of people are just seeing the one camera angle with the officer with his knee on his back or on his neck, but then there's another video footage that shows the other officers actually on his back, holding him down, and then there's also once the paramedics came, people are complaining about how the paramedics they literally had a guy that could have had possible neck injury, and they just yanked him up, threw him onto the gurney, and threw him into the ambulance. Nobody tried to check. They checked his pulse, but nobody wanted to see if there was anything damage done to him or anything. They just threw him on the bed thingy and threw him in the ambulance. And that's, that's just kind of some of the stuff that we didn't touch on last week. I just wanted to kind of bring up real quick.
Thank you.
But go ahead, Prodigy.
Sure.
No. So Prodigy, if you know the timeline up, I do. So I can speak on the timeline if you want.
Well, let's come back to that in terms of the thing. Yes, he was arrested just at a super high level. One of the major components for the initial protests was that there were 3 other men involved. We saw different video. We saw different angles of the 3 other officers, total of 4, that were involved in this murder. And so one of the rallying cries over the last 3, 4, or 5 days was, what the fuck is going to happen to the other 3? And they're also, in addition to that,
Prodigy, stop real quick. I'm sorry.
Somebody's got bad feedback.
Yeah, it's fucking up the podcast. If you're not talking, please mute. Like, put on the little rain thing.
Who?
So, yeah. Go ahead, talk. Talk now.
Okay. So I was just going to say, again, one of the rallying cries was the whole thing about, the other 3, are they going to be charged? And then in addition to that, the degree of the charges for Chauvin was something that a lot of people in the protest were very upset. He got charged with 3rd-degree murder. And people had to learn, what 3rd-degree murder is. That has changed subsequently. But I'm just trying to set the stage that several days were going on with protests getting louder and larger, with 3 men uncharged and 1 man charged, Chauvin, that most people had a problem with the degree of that charge. And I'll pause there. You can take it away with the timeline.
Okay, so the timeline of events that I can see is that May 26th, let me go back to the beginning. May 25th, George Floyd was murdered, okay? And if anybody wants to argue the fact that he was murdered or not, all right, you can just stop listening to this podcast. The man was murdered on camera. That is not up for dispute. So, May 26th, and I hate being the binary guy, but in this instance, it's a binary thing. Like, the guy was murdered. So, May 26th, responding officers were fired as protests began. So, all 4 of them were fired the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, May 27th, protest spreads to other cities. May 28th, the government activates the National Guard. May 29th, they arrested Officer Chauvin for the death. So it took, I was right. It was 4 days for the guy to get actually arrested. And during that, this is when people say, what could he have done differently? This is one of the main things they could have done differently, is that he should have been arrested right away for the murder of him. Actually, him especially, but the other 3 officers should have been investigated right away, and probably they probably should have been arrested as well right away, in my personal opinion, because what happened was horrific. It was brutal.
I don't have any fucking probably about it. Okay. I mean, you talk about something that just kept escalating and escalating from a community, and then state, city, state, and then eventually national and international standpoint. One of these, a very significant proportion of this was, when are the charges going to be filed for all 4? And the fact that they weren't filed right away because of either fear of the police union, or just not wanting to get a quote unquote more evidence, or whatever bullshit ass fucking reason, that was one of the things that made people even angrier than they were.
Yeah.
I want to
go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I just want to touch on one, I guess 2 little quick points. I was vastly impressed, and I touched on it last week, that they fired him so quickly. Yeah. That is something that happens so rarely, and a lot of people don't even have no concept how powerful police unions are.
Yeah.
Just for a point of reference, the Eric Gardner, the one who also got choked out by the police, where we had the phrase "I can't breathe." That officer involved with that, he went to trial and everything. He didn't get fired till 5 years later after that incident. He had a job after he went for trial for murder and everything. He was still on that. He was still getting paid, whether it was back pay or whatever it was, on admin leave. 5 years. So for that chief, and I go to him for having the courage just to be like, yo. No, this is. I just want to make sure I don't forget like certain aspects of it. But bravo to that chief for saying "fuck your union." You're gone today. We'll worry about whatever legality and lawsuits and due process we have to normally work out with the union. Because I mean, there's times where police officers get suspended, whether it's or fired for use of force, shootings, et cetera, et cetera. And normally it's a process of, oh, we're going to review, we're going to look over the incident, and we're just going to put you on admin leave, whether you're paid or not paid. We're going to figure it out. This chief at least had the balls to say, hold up, you're fired, and we're going to figure out the rest of the stuff later. Now, where I want to transition, and I want to, I guess, it's not really a pushback, but where a lot of people are saying, like, charges should have been filed, like, that day or immediately. I don't have a problem with waiting the 3 or 4 day period because, in my mind, you're playing the end game in this entire situation. It is as happy as, and it was great news to see that that the rest of the people were charged today. The ultimate justice in this case is not this guy going to jail, but him going and getting sentenced to prison and everything. We will be having the same fucking discussion, and shit will be a lot worse in these streets as everyone's being so outraged about the protesting and looting and stuff like that. It will be a major fucking problem if this whole thing goes to court and he's found not guilty. All of this will be for nothing. And Kronos sometimes touches on it where in sometimes your philosophy, you're like, is it really worth it if we're not getting the end result of what it is that we're trying to accomplish? Most recently, and I don't want to get sidetracked or be like it has anything to do with it, but like with the whole Trump impeachment. Yeah, he's impeached, but is he going to get removed from office? No. We all knew that. So it was kind of like, is this actually even worth our time? We need to make sure that this dude, and they have all their ducks in a row, because you only get one shot to put this dude behind bars and put him in prison for 20 years to life or whatever it is that he's sentenced for. Because, and I'll end on this point, because the main reason why the Trayvon, where George Zimmerman got off, was because they overcharged that case and they were not able to actually prove, beyond a shadow of a doubt, to all the jurors that there was intent for Zimmerman to murder Trayvon, and that's why they missed out on that opportunity. And Zimmerman's walking free, acting like a complete fuckboy now.
So this is where I'll give a little bit of pushback. What you just said, I mean, you're right. Like, the overcharging thing, that's totally correct. But the problem that I think most of America has, and that I have, is that if you see somebody being murdered on a video, usually 99.9% of the time, the person that is doing the murdering gets arrested immediately and thrown in jail. They can post bail, that's fine, but they get arrested immediately and thrown in jail. And I think that was one of the main problems, is that, yeah, you're right, you can build your case, but you can also build a case when the motherfucker is sitting in county. You know, you can do that. That's the way law normally works. So
yes,
yeah.
The only thing that's slightly different is that because this is a police officer,
that's a problem.
Whenever he is involved with whenever they're involved with something like a use of force or a death, there are certain protocols that are automatically enacted for them, where they have to give their internal affairs investigation and et cetera, et cetera. But just for some like inside baseball stuff, to Mirandize someone, for everyone talks about getting a Miranda and everything, that whole aspect of it. But in order for someone to be read their Miranda rights, they have to be in custody and they have to be under arrest. You can talk as freely and say whatever the fuck you want to, and I can ask you whatever questions I want to about anything that you did, as long as you are not under arrest. Now, anything can be used and said against you, as long as you're not in my custody, in custody. You can talk freely, and I can use that against you as ever you want. But the second that someone slaps cuffs on you and says, quote, you are under arrest, and they have to go through that whole legality, and especially when you're dealing with a police officer, because he knows his rights. Once you say you are under arrest, now I need you to ask you some questions about what happened, they're gonna be like, lawyer. I don't want to talk to my lawyer. Yeah. At least I feel that they probably played it smart in this way by getting all of his statements about what happened, what were you thinking, what were you doing, and stuff freely, without saying you're under arrest right now. Because you can know that he's under arrest. Whoever was investigating be like, yo, you're under arrest in my head, but I haven't put cuffs on you, and I've not taken away your freedom to walk out of this conversation. So I can ask you whatever questions I want and make you think that you're not under arrest, and I'm just doing a plain old regular internal affairs investigation. So I can ask you about what was your mindset going into it. Did you think he was fighting back, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But once I handcuff you and be like, yo, you're under arrest, and I start asking you these questions, as a cop, if that dude he would probably be like, and I would say 100% of the time, be like, I'm not answering any of your questions since I'm under arrest. I need my lawyer. And that would completely stymie the entire investigation, and that would hinder what they can use eventually.
Can I just say one quick thing though? And I appreciate that background. I respect your knowledge base, Sitch, on this issue. What's confusing for me as just the layperson, average citizen, is it's under the backdrop of your city being pretty much on fire. And, you know, the clamoring of the protests for some arrests right away are certainly ratcheting up the heat, so to speak. And I understand you got to be careful and balance and all that other stuff, but I feel as a just normal citizen that expediting that process that you articulated would have helped tone down some of the fire.
I agree. Now they changed the prosecutor in this, from what I'm understanding. They brought in an outside prosecutor, the one that they're not all brunch buddies with, which I think is awesome. And I saw his name today. He was the one that filed that charged the other dudes and everything. And we talked about what the actual charge was with the third-degree murder, third-degree homicide, third-degree murder and everything. And I thought that was a really good charge. Second degree would be borderline difficult. Now, when I woke up today and I saw the news today that they upgraded to second, I was like, oh shit, this could be interesting. But then when I saw the prosecutor say that under Minnesota law, that they are charging him with second-degree murder in commission of a felony. And that is a huge fucking thing, because you do not need to prove intent that you committed the murder. It was just that whatever happened in the course of that felony that you were committing, which would be the assault, which is him putting the battery of the assault with him putting the knee on the neck, is that you caused his death. Your mindset does not need to go into the entire cause or the effect of what it is that took place. And just for sort of like a comparison thing, we've talked about this previous occasions where it's like, let's say we all decide to roll up in a bank and Blue's the getaway driver, me and Kronos are the stick-up man, and you're on lookout or whatever outside the bank. And I just decide, or me and Kronos decide to go gun happy, we just start shooting tellers just to fuck it, because YOLO. All of us can get charged for that murder because we are all committing a felony. And in the course of that felony, one of us committed murder, so we are all responsible. That's why sometimes people are like, well, he was just a getaway driver. I don't see why he was responsible for that and everything. That law is exactly why those dudes on the sidelines are getting charged with murder.
Nice.
Yeah, it was interesting because like today, like I was listening to the radio and they had a police officer on there, and he was talking about, you know, what's the difference between a first-degree murder, second-degree murder, and third-degree murder. And pretty much, just a little cliff note, first-degree murder means that you planned to murder somebody. Like, you had it all figured out, you know, you really want this person to fucking die. And then, like, with third-degree murder, like, that's where it gets a little bit on the gray area where, you know, you could, like, the murder could have just, like, you were trying to hurt somebody, but it went to the level where you end up murdering them. But then, like, manslaughter means that it was just a fucking accident, basically. But, like, the guy didn't really touch too much on second-degree murder, so I'm glad you got to explain that a little bit more, Stitch. Like, you're important.
I think Prodigy put out a really good meme. A fucking broken clock is right twice a day kind of thing. With
Oh my god!
With that first, second, third, I was like, this motherfucker got something right. I was like, save that one. I was like, showing it to friends because they were asking me, and I was like, it's hard. I was like, this motherfucker of all people got it right in like 3 sentences or whatever. Because I can give like a long-winded, by the book penal code like definition of it, but it was summed up pretty good in the fucking meme. Like you said, first degree is premeditation. You planned it. You knew what you were doing going into it. Second degree is you had the intent to kill somebody. Premeditation is I plan. I'm gonna walk up in Kronos. I'm sorry to use Kronos. I'm gonna walk up in Old Ninja's house. I'm gonna walk up in Old Ninja's house and I'm gonna shoot him because I fucking hate Mass Effect. Number second degree murder is.
Oh, I see how it is. I see how it is. Now I know. Okay.
Yes. Second degree murder is, yo, we're playing Mass Effect. I'm just like, yo, this game's bullshit. And I'm mad that you made me play it, so I'm gonna wrap these hands around your neck or whatever, and I kill you. That's second degree murder. Third degree murder is just like, oh man, it was kind of an accident. I didn't mean to kill him. I just meant to make him swallow this fucking game disc of Mass Effect, and he ended up dying because of it.
That's fucking superb.
Let me go back to the. Can I go back to the timeline now?
Yeah, timeline. Sorry.
Jesus. We went. Oh fuck! No, I even like lost my place about where I was at, and I gotta pull it back up. I had a good. All right, I think I was on like the. I was still in May.
Day you're eating acidic food.
What is? God damn it! I hate these. Hold on, sorry. I hate these ads that play. So y'all didn't hear it, but everybody else listening to this heard it. Some ad playing. Anyway, so we were on Officer Arrested, May 29th. Okay, and somewhere between.
One officer arrested.
And then, yeah, one officer being arrested, Chauvin. So, May 31st, prosecution changes hands. And also, somewhere between those two dates, there was an autopsy where they were trying to say that George Floyd died because he had health complications. Which I was like, really? Really? Like,
Yes.
what the fuck?
It said cardiac, for fancy words, it said cardiac arrest, which means his heart stopped.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh shit. Yeah.
Well,
When
I
you
mean,
die, your heart
right.
ain't working, so it
Yeah.
stops. It's like,
No, they're kind of right. I mean, he died of health complication. It's just that, the complication was that he couldn't fucking breathe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
what caused his heart to stop? And they didn't answer that.
Yeah, it's so insane. Anyway. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say really quickly on that autopsy that we all knew was fucking bullshit. Yeah, this we've mentioned it a couple times with like during the coronavirus raging in New York and New Jersey, autopsies possibly being a little bit quick and whatnot, but still believing the numbers and everything. This was a case where this guy's fucked up. This medical examiner not only doesn't know what he's doing, but I would question this case and multiple others that he or she has been involved in. If you can't get something as fairly straightforward as this right, then how are you licensed to do your job? And we really should be digging into that.
Later on,
It's
it was announced that he died from asphyxiation.
I was
it's
I was gonna get there. It's all good, man. I'm gonna get there.
Sorry.
Yeah, we're going through a timeline. All right, so we talked about May 31st. Prosecution changes hands. June 1st, independent autopsy determined that it was a homicide caused by asphyxiation, which we all knew, due to the neck and back compression that led to a lack of blood flow to the brain. So some people that don't know a lot of stuff, they might think that if somebody says they can't breathe, they can breathe. That's not true. It also doesn't mean that you can't die because you can breathe. All right. So if I was to put my hands on your carotid arteries, you can technically still breathe, but you're gonna die anyway because I'm cutting off the blood flow to your fucking brain. So, and if somebody's also compressing your diaphragm down, and also somebody else has pressure on your neck, and you literally, you might be able to breathe a little bit, but it's not enough for you to live. So I think that's what people really need to understand. You can breathe like for a little while, but you're not gonna be able to breathe forever like that, because your diaphragm is what inflates and deflates your lungs. And if you can't inflate and deflate your lungs, guess what? You can't breathe. If you keep having a quarter breathe in, breathe out, then an eighth breathe in, breathe out, and then a 20th breathe in, breathe out. Eventually, you're going to lack the amount of oxygen that your brain needs to function. And so please understand that and stop with this nonsense of if somebody can talk, they can breathe. Like, I hope that laid it down for you.
Yeah.
Can I jump in? Can I jump in?
Please.
Can I jump in?
Go ahead.
I'm with you 100%, but I just want to be really fucking crystal clear. Stitch mentioned it previously, but this piggybacks on the couple years ago Eric Gardner case with the I can't breathe stuff. there was a lot of mythology, a lot of fucking lies out there that came from law enforcement, really and truly, in terms of promoting that mythology of, well, if you can say I can't breathe, then you can breathe. A lot of I think for a lot of people in the general public, that was the first time they heard that bullshit.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you broke it down, Kronos, but I just want to have that historical account that most people heard it from the Eric Gardner case, and then some people tried that same bullshit here for a little while. And I'm glad that collectively a lot of doctors, a lot of community activists, a lot of just rational people that know things said actually he could not breathe, and he died as we all saw. But some of that came from law enforcement. Just to be really clear.
Yeah, it's total bullshit, and I'm telling you from a person that has an expertise on this. I've been choked thousands of fucking times in jiu-jitsu, thousands of times, and there are times to where literally my last fucking breath is tap, and there's no next breath. So, like, that's how serious it is, and it can come really fucking quickly. Where it's like the last thing I'm gonna say is I'll say tap, and I'm trying to tap, and sometimes I can't even fucking say it, but sometimes I can. That's like that. That's literally my last breath, and I've never gone out, but I've seen the tunnel coming, where it's like, hey, I'm fucked. I need to say something to let you know that I'm fucking done. You won. All
well,
right?
even with that, Kronos, like, the fact that you, like, they call it tapping because you're tapping that person, let you know, like, okay, I'm out. Like, let me go. Like, I can't fucking talk. Like, you're choking me out. Here, tap. I'm out. You're being tapped out. But to kind of piggyback what you were saying about, like, his chest and lungs being compressed. Like, the guy had 3 grown fucking men on his back. One was on his neck, and 2 of them were on his back. And even if they didn't have, like, his full weight, like, I would say, let's say the average weight of a grown man is 150 pounds, and they had half of their weight on him. He still had 150 pounds of men on his back, plus he had another half a pound, like, 75 pounds of a man on his fucking neck. So this guy had 225 pounds of human on him that kept him from fucking breathing.
Yeah, and he's handcuffed, so it's like he cannot create space.
Yeah, it's probably about 200 pounds, at least 200 pounds a person, because you got to account for all that gear that they're carrying. And, yeah, exactly.
And when I said average, I'm just talking about my own weight. Like, I weigh 150. So, and you guys are probably way more than me, but, like, yeah, like, this guy, he could not breathe.
All right, so
which is sad.
I'm keeping to go through the timeline here. So June 2nd, civil rights charge filed against the Minneapolis Police Department, which I totally agree with. And then June 3rd, today, now all 4 officers have been charged in George Floyd's death. So, yeah, and they modified the charges against Chauvin. He's going to have the second-degree charge, or second-degree murder, which Stitch just went through. So that is the entire timeline until today. And there's other shit that happened during this timeline that we can get into if y'all want to talk about what President Trump talked about.
What did you want to?
Like what else has been going on?
We're going. We will. That's all. We will get into that. Please believe.
Well, I know.
I got. You might have several Golden Eggplant rants of the year.
In one podcast.
So I was just gonna say, like, today it was announced that the other 3 officers had been arrested for the charges of. I don't think that there's any charges, but they were arrested too. The other 3 officers.
That's what I just said.
They were arrested today.
Yeah, it was aiding and abetting second-degree murder and manslaughter. All felonies.
Okay,
yeah.
I would have to, because I'm not even familiar with that charge because it's different states and everything. It seems legit. I'd have to sort of read what the elements of that crime and charge is, but it seems legit.
Okay. So do you want to pivot to, I mean, we have a few different flavors the way I look at it. I appreciated the timeline. To me, there's the celebrity response, there's the actual protests themselves and protests and sometimes riots. And then there's even the aspect of just off the hook fucking incidents, like with MAGA Hawkeye.
Oh, yeah.
And flip flop and sword wielding wannabe ninja.
Yeah. I don't care about what the celebrities. I think we got more important things to talk about than what fucking Joe and what's it called? Seth Rogen's got to say about some shit or whatever. I think one of the things that has been a discussion point is looting versus protesting and the civil unrest that took place after that. Because that seems to be a big discussion point where it's made things awkward in some situations for people to talk about. For those that don't know or have just been hearing it, Kronos has been putting out some really good podcasts about his personal feelings with race relations, civil unrest, or discord, civil discord, the past couple of days. And you will probably be seeing that from all of us over the next couple of days, just because this topic hits home for us in many different ways. Yes, we are all 5 Black men, but we are all different in terms of our interactions with the police, with each other, with racism and everything. So I think it's a really good idea that Kronos sparked and has been put out there. So you get a little bit of a personal level in terms of how this thing, since we're all talking about it, is affecting each and every one of us.
Yeah, oh, hold on. Where am I at? There we go. Sorry, I clicked the wrong buttons on here. This is kind of an insane thing for me to do, because I'm not that guy. If you've been listening to the podcast, I'm usually not that guy. You know, I'll talk about some civil rights stuff and, you know, some political light stuff. I kind of usually rein back, you know, what I really want to talk about as far as politics goes. But when this happened, I couldn't not talk about it. You know, and I couldn't wait to put out a statement. You know, I think that if you listen to the podcast, I'm super honest about the way I feel about it. And I think that staying silent and not talking about it when I have this fucking platform to talk about it and have people really understand the plight that African Americans have gone through from my point of view. I've had so many positive interactions with people. It's been really amazing. I've been kind of amazed that it's been so positive. So anybody out there who's listening to this, if you're a person of color, tell your story so people can hear it. Because I think that not enough people understand that people are being fucked in America. And I think that these people are the whole, you know, hashtags All Lives Matter thing. They don't understand what you're going through. Whether it's through cognitive dissonance or they just don't see it. That's up to them. But if we keep telling our stories, more and more people are going to start listening, and they're going to start seeing that, hey, there are 2 different Americas here, and the part of America that they are on, where, you know, they can say all lives matter because they're not going through problems. It's listen, African Americans and people of color, they're calling out for help, and we've been doing it for a while now. And you saying that, you know, my life matters too, but you're going through none of the problems that we're going through, that's a fucking problem, you know. And I understand that there are some people, some Caucasians, that have problems. You tell your story too. If you're a poor Caucasian, you're going through some fucking issues too. But understand that a disproportionately large number of people of color are going through brutality and going through disadvantaged means. And I talked about it in my solo shit, but I kind of ignored it because I make a decent amount of money, and I'm generally about the fuck you attitude. If somebody looks at me funny or, you know, treats me a certain way, I'm just fuck those people, and I dismiss them. But I noticed that that's a flaw in me. I need to stop doing that, because me just dismissing that, what if that same person does it to somebody that is way more disadvantaged than I am that looks like me? What's the result there? And that's my personal responsibility to take a fucking stand and tell people my story and recognize in myself that I can't let it go on. I can't let racist fucking bullshit, thinly veiled racist bullshit, occur around me anymore for the sake of my children. So, anyway, y'all go ahead. Sorry about that.
Can I jump in?
Yeah.
Can I jump? Yeah. Sorry, I know everybody wants to jump in, and I'm not going to be long at all. I just want to say very clearly, peaceful, and I know everybody feels a different way, and so I'm just speaking for myself. Peaceful protests, like Colin Kaepernick did, got a whole lot of fucking shit. This man was completely kicked out of and blackballed from the NFL. Just this past week, the actual NFL executive, I got his fucking name, of VP of Communications, Joe Lockhart, said, quote, no teams wanted to sign a player, even one as talented as Cap, whom they saw as controversial and therefore bad for business. That is literally the NFL, and I know this is not a completely sports cast, but it is tangentially related. That is the NFL literally saying a middle finger to peaceful protests. And I believe, and I know very clearly that millions of Americans said, fuck this motherfucker. And so my anger, really and truly, is partially on the fact that peaceful protests got shit on for fucking years. And
Years?
then there's this, decades. You're absolutely right. But recently, I'm just talking about very recently, this decade, just a few years ago, peaceful protests got shit on so hard. And you got Time Magazine and a whole lot of people just saying, hey, Cap, you were fucking right. And I think that there's finally some level of vindication for Kaepernick. And I don't want to hear the bullshit about, and why does everything have to be so violent? First of all, as Stitch alluded to, most of the protests are not violent. No. So there's just a lot of bullshit that goes on that has me frustrated. I'll certainly do, something solo and longer, but I just got to point that out there, man. There were peaceful protests on this same subject that got fucking shit on.
I love the meme that says like, what does I told you so looks like a person? What if I told you so looked like a person, who would? This is what they'll look like, and it's a picture of Kaepernick, and it's like this guy's been preaching this for like years, and people just shout on him. Like even the president was like, this motherfucker needs to get up off his knees, and like he's being disrespectful to the United States or whatever, or to our military service.
To be specific, he called him a son of a bitch.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what he said. I knew he used some kind of profanity, but like the guy tried to be peaceful, and like shit wasn't getting done. Like the dude lost his fucking job, and like people were saying like, you make all this money, just put your money where your mouth is, and Cap was spending like millions of dollars trying to help out people and stuff like that. Like he didn't really even have a job, but like he was still out there trying to get the voice heard for the black people.
So you know what's insane to me right now? What's really insane to me right now is that I'm already seeing the conspiracy theories. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but this is fucking infuriating to me. They're saying that Chauvin, that's the guy that they arrested, is not really him. He was an actor. And they're saying that George Floyd is an actor as well, and he's not really dead. I'm like, are you fucking insane? We watched him die on the screen. Like, are you fucking... This is how far cognitive dissonance has gone in America, is that we literally watched a man murdered, and somebody's going to say, all those people are just all actors, and it's all just to start a race war. So what about everybody else the past fucking hundreds of years that have been fucking murdered by the police? Are they all fucking actors too? Are you serious? We used to get fucking skinned alive, fucking hung, dragged by fucking cars and horses. We've had
lynched.
The fucking insanity of these goddamn people that are just gonna pretend that people of color haven't been at the receiving end of brutality by a fucking authority, by their own citizens for hundreds of years is fucking I can't even begin to tell you how insulting that is, and how fucking stupid you sound when you say shit like that. Like, you're just totally ignoring all this other shit that happened. Like, you think that just that one thing started this? It wasn't just him that started this. He's at the top of a fucking mountain of bodies. A mountain of bodies, and he happens to be at the top. Alright? Understand that shit.
I'm glad you touched on... Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead and jump in.
I had a question about... do we have the timeline of when the protests and the riots and looting started? Do we have like a time frame for that one?
Well, I kind of just went through it.
Yeah, he kind of went through that.
Well, you're listening to Ninja.
It was very recently after the incident went viral.
Yeah,
well, the next day after the cast.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean,
hold on, just for old ninjas, so we can hear it again. May 25th, George Floyd dies in police custody. May 26th, responding officers fire, protests begin. May 27th, protests spread to other cities, and y'all know the rest. And then May 28th is when National Guard gets involved. So it's spread. We went over this.
As of this recording, there's still protests and violence continuing to this day as we're recording this.
I'm down here in LA, and like they have a curfew here right now just because there was a protest that was going to happen at 8 o'clock, and literally the restaurant I was at, they're next to a mall, and they were like, yeah, we normally close, like we have planned on closing like at 9. I think they normally close at 9:30, but because of the protest that was happening, they had to close up shop. Like my niece, she works for Target, and they had to close because they had to prepare for they're preparing for the riot. They're not preparing for the protest. And like literally everybody got off of work early just so they can go home and be at home before all this shit kind of hit the fan. And literally like me driving from the restaurant to my hotel, like there's streets that are blocked off, like the freeways closed in certain area. Like I had to take so many goddamn detours to get to my fucking hotel just because shit's about to hit the fan. And I'm down here in LA where, you know, when they had the Rodney King riots, like, you know, shit went nuts down here. And I'm looking outside of my hotel window and I can see fucking helicopters flying around.
I wanted just to go back to where Kronos was with his passion about everything, all the bullshit that's going on. I've talked about it before in terms of like, how is it that you want us as black people to protest?
Yeah.
We've said it before. Y'all don't want us to protest. It's not about it being peaceful. It's just be quiet, be happy with what we gave you, and just sit there and smile and be thankful. Tommy Smith, John Carlos, Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Muhammad Ali, they all did that shit peacefully. And y'all just shitted on them the entire fucking process. And now people are acting all outraged that people are fed up. And I mean, I without getting into too much, we all know that I love the law in terms of my philosophy. But people's lives outweigh people's property. I will argue till I'm blue in the face that I can't even. I get so enraged when people are so pissed off about the property damage, the graffiti, and the trash cans being lit on fire, more so than the person's life we saw extinguished by a representative of the government. I give no fucks if somebody throws a brick through your Whole Foods window. No fucks given compares to what we just saw. What was the cause of what you are watching right now? What caused that to happen? Now, yeah, there's a difference, in my personal opinion, between going out and in the process of looting, you're hurting people and whooping their ass as long as they don't have a fucking bow or aiming it at people and stuff like that. That's different. I'm not going to be outraged if you break a window. Yeah, it is bad and everything. No one's down with that and everything. But don't don't hurt people, don't kill cops, which is another thing that people are trying to deflect from the actual message of what is going on and what happened. Everyone's like, oh, look at the damage that's happening. Are people dying in this graffitied wall that you're showing me? Yeah, it sucks that the church got graffitied. Yeah, and in terms of the overall, it doesn't make sense. But in terms of the overall picture of it, yeah, we can paint over that and we can replace that window sill. We can replace that vehicle and everything. You can't replace George Floyd's life.
Yep. Thank you.
Stitch, really quick, what do you say to the people that are saying that, oh, George Floyd, he committed a crime. He was a criminal. So why are you so upset? What do you say to those people?
Yeah.
You don't deserve there's rules. I mean, I love The Wire. So there's rules to the game or whatever. There's a code to this shit. And even if you're not even going on that like sort of like street like media level, like in terms of like how things work in this country, there's due process. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty. We don't go running around in the streets like it's the purge and doing judge, jury, and executioner. And if he committed the crime, okay, he committed the crime. Big deal.
So hold on, this is the problem that
But what crime? It's $20 fucking bill.
Hold on, this is the problem that I think.
No, sorry, go ahead.
What you're saying is totally valid, but this is the problem that I think. This is what America. I'm going to open your eyes up to racism right now. All right, everybody that heard that story about the $20 bill thing, you all assume that he did that. Everybody they all just assume that he gave a $20 bill on purpose. I could have a $20 bill in my wallet right now. I wouldn't fucking know. I don't have a fucking test pen. You know, everybody assumed because he was black African American, that he did that on purpose to basically get over somebody for $20. You assume that. Everybody that's listening to this right now, you know who the fuck you are. You assume that he did that on purpose and that he was definitely fucking guilty. But guess what? It is not a police officer's job to find somebody guilty. It's a job for them to arrest somebody and then for the court system to find him guilty or not guilty by a jury of their peers. That's how it's supposed to fucking work in America. All right? It is not their job to go out there and murder somebody. And that's what is infuriating about this is that people have been okay with the police putting out this kind of it's almost like vigilante justice. I want the police officers to do their fucking job. If somebody's committing a crime, it needs to be investigated. You can't just think that you're supposed to be innocent to proving guilty. You didn't prove him guilty. That's what's fucked up about living in America as somebody that's a person of color, is that you're almost always assumed guilty, and that's fucking bullshit.
What's also kind of crazy to kind of touch on that is like I used to work we all have had jobs where we work like retail or some kind of shitty ass job, and like when I work retail, like we have the counterfeit pen that we would use, but like we only use it on like 50s and 100s because like a lot of times those are kind of bills that are fucking counterfeited. Like for the person who assumed that his $20 was fake, had to assume that like he had that some kind of racism in him for him to check this $20 bill. Like it's like counterfeit money is really hard to fucking distinguish from real bills and fake bills. I mean, there's little nuances that you can realize, but that's why they have the fucking pen so you can mark it just to fucking verify. So, like the cashier at this liquor store had to have some kind of like hatred toward black people to begin with to even like even pick up the phone and make that call. Be like, hey, this guy has a counterfeit $20 bill.
Well, I don't know all that, and I don't want to put blame on some. I mean, that part I think is very minute in terms of everything. If he had the fake $20 bill, if he didn't, okay. The job of the police is to investigate said claim, talk to him, and be like, yo, we got a report that you might have given a $20 bill. What do you know about it or whatever? Now, we like I said, we don't have body camera footage or anything to know exactly what happened when it was encountered. Not that I'm justifying the end result of what happened between those two, but there is that gap where we don't know what happened. But regardless, there is no reason that situation needs to turn into somebody losing their life. Like,
not at all.
No.
Yeah. It's like
to touch on some. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just like, honestly, like if someone was like, "No, I didn't do that," I'm like, all right, well, I guess you have a court date now. You figure it out in court. Like, there's no. Yeah. Why would you arrest somebody like that? You know what I mean? Like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, it's $20 fucking. Listen, honestly, hold on, real quick, Blue. Honestly, if I heard the conversation between the police officer and the cop, it'd be like, listen, I got $20. Will this resolve this? Can you let him? I mean, like, seriously, that's how easy it is to fucking resolve. Is one random person walking by, like, listen, he supposedly. It
might cost more for him to go to court than that $20, basically.
Yeah, like, for real.
It probably cost more $5 money to have a court date for this guy than it was for you to walk by and give the $20. Like, hey, look, there's $20. Like, let this you go.
So
that's why I'm so interested in seeing how the initial encounter happened with this officer. And if he just ran up to him and Goldberg speared him into the ground over a $20, like that's why I want to see more.
You haven't seen it? No, you haven't seen it.
Well, when in terms of when the officer gets on scene and what was said, like when it's just like, hey, what's going on? I saw the photo where they're like outside the wall on the thing, but I don't know the words on what's going on.
Oh, okay. Well, so the words to me doesn't really matter that much, but the way that he was handcuffed mattered, because he was handcuffed just fine.
Well, I meant like the words in terms of how the officer approached the situation. He just walked in and escalated, because de-escalation is something that I want to touch on later when we get to it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kind of jumping back to the $20 bill, like back when I worked retail, even though I used to work for a bank, like we had training for certain things, and if somebody came in there with a $20 bill, it was the teller responsibility, or even like the cashier, for you to try to keep that counterfeit money to use as evidence against that person. So like if there is a fake $20 bill, like that's when you give it. You try not to give it back to the person. You try to keep that so you can give it to the officers so they have like evidence, like, hey, this is the counterfeit money that we received from this guy. So they have some kind of evidence.
Yeah, and so the crazy part about this is, sorry, just because I watched the owners of the store actually talk about this issue, is that they said normally, obviously they've had counterfeit issues before, and they said normally they don't call the cops on this, but I guess the clerk that was working there, they called the cops, and they felt terrible that, George Floyd, they didn't, nobody would expect, saying that, hey, this person gave me a fake $20 bill. You wouldn't expect the person to die. Like, what the fuck? Think about how terrible that person feels right now. Like,
yeah, he does.
Jesus Christ.
Camera. I'm gonna really quickly jump in. I'm gonna really quickly jump. Sorry. Yeah, I'm gonna say this. Just as a future point of reference, I hate to speak for all Black America, but I am going to. I think we would all like to be treated, guilty or not, regardless of the crime, all like to be treated like Martha Stewart, convicted felon Martha Stewart, with interactions with law enforcement. Just the level of, de-escalation, which I know Stitch is going to get into later, but just trying not to go in thinking that someone who has dark skin and is of African descent is a automatic threat. Yeah. You could prevent that and just go in like, oh, this is Martha Stewart, but maybe she's done some insider trading.
This is exactly what I talked about. Wonderful. That's actually one of the things I talked about on like one of my solo things. It's like if you just treated somebody like they were, I think it was like basically like your best friend's son or something like that.
Yeah.
Like just treat them like that. Just basic human decency. Like don't assume right away that they are guilty, because when you start going in there thinking that they're guilty and you're a police officer, you're already fucked up, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I'm right there with you. I would love to be treated like Martha Stewart, just for future reference.
So I want to say, like, the media, to me, it made it come off as if George Floyd was trying to offload a ton of counterfeit bills.
Yeah.
And I'm like, usually, if that happens, usually the FBI, as far as I know, is involved once you get past a certain amount. But if it's just for $20, like, usually that's almost nothing.
Any counterfeit money is like a Secret Service thing. It's a technical federal crime, whether it's a $1 bill or $20 bills. The nomination doesn't technically matter.
I mean,
it's not a violent crime. It's not a crime against a person either.
Yes, that's true. It's just weird that I haven't heard of anyone calling the cops on someone with counterfeit bills, because there's counterfeit bills out there, and I know that the FBI, Secret Service, and the Federal Reserve, they want to collect as many counterfeit bills as possible so they can try to find out how it was done and how to better improve counterfeit detection. But this guy, he gets the cops called on him, and then he loses his life, which is astronomically hard to compute for me.
Well, I want to transition into another point just down the chronological line of it, into the topic that is being brought up in terms of this. I'm going to sound like Blue, no offense. Systemic racism in the police department, because that is something that is being brought up and touched on many times. Just on a personal note with me, this is sort of, in a way, it hits kind of home or whatever, without getting it into too much depth on it, because, I mean, obviously I love law enforcement, and I can give all those corny lines that people don't want to hear right now. One bad apple, blah, 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 blah. People ain't trying to hear that, and I know when to shut the fuck up or whatever. So some people need to really listen to that and be like, yeah, there's one bad apple and blah, blah, blah. It's not me. I get that. I don't need to go around and prove to everybody that, yo, I ain't them or whatever. But those people, yeah, they fucked up and everything like that. I don't need to fight every battle, so I can just sort of sit this one out and everything. And the people that really know me and my friends, that's cool. I don't need to jump into a Facebook comment section on some news site and try to defend my fucking moral code as a human being or whatever. But the only thing, and I feel bad because I've been talking a lot about this during the course of this cast, but I'm just really passionate because this, and I'll go into it on my own personal little side thing. The culture inside of the police department, and the only thing that I'll touch on right now, and I want to call motherfuckers out on, and that I think is a problem, is people with this motherfucking Blue Lives Punisher skull. Now, there's one thing in terms of like, yeah, I support my Blue Lives brothers and sisters. It's a fraternity. I love all of them or whatever. I know I can list them, and I know everybody's name that meant the world to me. And I've been involved with incidences where some of them have died through various causes, and it touches me and it hurts me. However, there is merit to this whole belief that it is a sort of wall of silence. Not in any specific department that I've worked in, but I'm not naive enough to make this claim that it does not exist. But I get, and I've said that I get annoyed when people put this whole Punisher skull on it. We talked about it in our personal our personal group chat, when I saw Sean Hannity wearing like the Punisher skull on his little lapel thing. I was like, I was like, what the fuck is that? Like, first of all, as black nerds, we all know the Punisher and what his moral compass is, which is something that should never be in line or modeled, especially in terms of like law enforcement. But it's that mindset, and some people will put it in a different way. Oh, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6 and everything. And it's a mindset that is, it's been ingrained and is just passed on without actually even thinking about what it is that you're actually really saying.
Hold on, so hold on. Can I pause you real quick? Because something you just said. The whole
I'm good. I don't want to monologue forever, but yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm fine with you obviously talking, but the judge by 12, carried by 6 thing. If you are a police officer and that's your mindset, you're supposed to protect and serve. Yep. Did you fucking forget that? Understand what you just said. I'd rather potentially kill somebody for whatever reason and be judged for it than die when you should be protected. Your job is to protect and serve, right? I mean, that's your actual creed. It's not to indiscriminately dole out your version of justice. You know, I think that people say certain things and they don't really understand what the fuck they mean, and I'm calling this shit out from now on.
Say that one more time for the people in the back. Your definition of justice.
Yeah, it's your definition of justice.
Keyword.
Yeah, it's your what you signed up for when you became a police officer is to protect and serve. It is not to dole out your version of fucking justice. Saying I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6 means that you're okay with likely having a bad call and potentially killing somebody rather than dying protecting your country when it's literally in your creed to protect people. I'm just putting it out there. I'd rather not fuck up and take a life. How about that? When we talk about police officers, yeah, I get it that your job is hard. You know, I'm a U.S. Marine. My job was fucking hard too. You know, I literally had to go. I had to sit in briefings where that justified killing children. Mm-hmm. Seriously, and it's only under certain conditions. All right, obviously, because there's people have morals, but there's conditions where if a kid's gonna kill you, what are you gonna do? So and that's a whole fucked up conversation. But I'm not gonna shoot somebody in the fucking face because I think they were gonna do something. You know what I mean? Because they fit the description. That's fucking wrong, and this is a part of the systematic racism that people really need to understand. So I hope they hit home for just one fucking person.
Good.
That's heavy.
I don't want to shift too far away, but I do love when we talk about the whole systemic stuff. I will definitely have my like reading list that I want to fucking promote and all that, but drug enforcement is not equal. I've said that before on this cast. I'm going to say that again and again and again. You can go to nearly any college campus and find any fucking type of drugs you fucking want to, and the enforcement is nowhere near what it is in South Central, in Brooklyn, in the Bronx, in Oakland, anywhere else. There's a racial component to drug enforcement, and that's something that a lot of people don't feel comfortable saying. A lot of people, I got the books, I got the stats on it.
Yep.
I'm not going to go all the way deep down into it, but just know that some of this, and even touching on the wire and whatnot, some of this is, let me try to bust up black and brown communities. There might be drugs, and then whether someone does or does not, there's some killings and then some sprinkling of crack, to use a cliche, on a dead body.
Real quick.
I mean,
so hold on. Shit. Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, man.
I was gonna say, to add on to just really quick to add on what Prodigy was talking about. Hollywood gives you this. You had, like you said, The Wire. We had The Shield. We had the movie Street Kings. We had even to some degree Training Day, like that kind
The
of
show Cops.
Cops as well. I mean, all that stuff is presented to the mass media. So I mean, it's been there.
Yeah. So if y'all are unaware listening to this podcast, just look up the sentences for crack cocaine and then cocaine. Just look up the minimum sentences for both of those, and then look at what ethnic group uses which drug. Just educate yourself on just that one fact alone. Hopefully, that one little piece of knowledge will put you down a rabbit hole to looking towards a whole bunch of things. But I mean, that one thing alone should open your eyes. It's because crack cocaine, which is cocaine, just a cheaper version because they cut it with a bunch of bullshit. But it's literally the same. It's literally the same drug. They just cut it. The fact that you can get a much longer sentence for crack, and what they'll do, or what they were doing, is that they'll give you multiple charges on the same arrest if you had crack on you, like right away. So you would hit the three strikes right away. It's fucking bullshit.
Even weed sentencing is not like statistically fair. And you can go back to the fucking Nixon administration with people in the administration admitting on camera and in writings saying the whole war on drugs purpose was to hurt black and brown communities. But you know what? I'll let you guys take the floor. It's disgusting.
Another interest. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna touch on a little bit about the whole. So we talked about the show Watchmen. In the first episode of Watchmen, they had the whole Black Wall Street massacre, and literally that happened 99 years ago on June 1st and the 2nd, and like for all this shit to kind of take place. It's just an example of like the shit that black people had to fucking deal with. Like here we had like our own market, like we had a bunch of black-owned businesses that was fucking thriving, and just because some motherfuckers were mad, they decided to like kill over 300 people, burn down a bunch of different properties, fucking drop bombs, and like just massacre people in fucking public. But the shit that's crazy is like, a lot of people don't know about this, and it's like shit that they just want to try to sweep under the rug, like they're trying to say like, yeah, slavery didn't really happen, like it was like hundreds of years ago or something like that, like go ahead and get over it. But like even with like the civil rights movement, that was like only like maybe like 60 years ago that happened. Like that shit was still very recent, like, and we're still fighting we got our rights, but we were still trying to fight for our rights. Like it's been going on for so fucking long, and like people are just fucking tired of it. Tired of fucking like, walking in the neighborhood and have to worry about like, somebody might look at you wrong and think that you shouldn't be there and call the cops on you, and all of a sudden you're fucking laying on the street being fucking shot in the back because, you had a cell phone case in your pocket and they thought you had a gun. Yeah. Like shit like that. It's like fucking ridiculous. Or like
you know what I was gonna just say? I was just gonna say I wanted to piggyback on what Blue said. I would like for the same level of respect when, the unfortunate circumstance of like someone being a victim of like sexual assault or something like that, and you don't try to disparage that woman's Twitter from 4 or 5 years ago and say, oh well, look at what she was wearing in 2017 or any of that bullshit. Yeah. It's like, okay, look at the incident that we're talking about right now, and was it warranted for that person to lose their life? I fucking hate the retroactive character assassination that it tends to only go with black and brown folks, and then on top of that, the trigger word of thug gets only used
Yeah.
when we're talking about
Thugs.
black people. It just never seems to come out when we're talking about the Dylan Roofs or the Timothy McVeighs or the countless other non-black people that do terrible, violent, ugly shit. Those are thugs.
Yeah, you remember
it's reverse
the guy
engineered.
you remember the guy who shot up the church in
Dylan Roof? Dylan Roof.
was that it? Yeah, wasn't he the one that when they arrested him, they put him in a bulletproof vest and they took him to Burger King on his way to the precinct.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna get arrested, why aren't we getting that treated? We're getting guns drawn first for either being in a neighborhood after a certain time, counterfeit bills, being on your phone in your backyard, being at home in an argument with somebody, and then all of a sudden, or being in your apartment
Your own fucking bed.
and someone busts in thinking it's their apartment, they draw their gun and blow you away.
Yep.
Because
Hold
The
on.
girl in Louisville.
yep.
Sorry, somebody in the chat room just said something that was kind of profound. It was Clay. And he said that basically believe black people would never fly in America before this. Because, like,
I'm sorry,
remember,
one more time?
believe black people would never fly in America before this. Remember how we had believe all women?
Yep.
Why can't you believe all black people?
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I am not saying, and I don't think anybody on this cast is saying, black people are always innocent. We've never done anything.
Yeah,
No,
definitely not. Nobody
there's
is.
there's some pieces of shit that if you pull a gun out on an officer, I think you've committed suicide. I literally do.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Or you have a knife and you're wielding it. You just want a funeral. You got those Ghanaian pallbearers just sitting there waiting for you, or whatever the fuck.
Oh damn.
Well,
With the
the one
music
thing that
coming
bothers
in the
me-
background and everything.
I know we'll probably touch on the riots sooner or later, but the one thing that bugs me is how, with the whole coronavirus, we have a bunch of people mad about wearing a mask and saying, oh, you're encroaching on my freedom, I don't want to stay at home. And they had their protest, but we have motherfuckers with, AK-47s and shit with guns going up to, city halls with their guns out and stuff like that. And, nothing fucking happened. There was no, there was police present, but, nobody was fucking, do anything crazy. But then, with black folks, we get fucking all kind of crazy shit happening,
Yes.
and, people going nuts.
So, Blue, I'm
That's
sorry.
why they can't ignore it this time.
Yeah, but I unfortunately I have to give a little bit of pushback on this. So, and I hate even saying this because I'm gonna get fucking hate for it, and I understand motherfuckers are gonna be angry with me right now. Okay, but the fact is, the people that were open carrying in all those protests, there was no looting and rioting. But I'm gonna say that. At the same time, though, I understand that the looting and rioting that is happening in these cities are not peaceful protesters, okay? And I
Yeah.
think probably one of the reasons why nobody's looting and rioting at the other protests is because there's motherfuckers with guns, and they would fucking, you know what I mean? So,
Can I add
Go
one
ahead.
thing? Can
Yeah.
I add one thing to that?
feel free, man.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with some of that characterization, either from Blue or Kronos. But just to add further context to it, and I mentioned this. What was it? A week or two ago? I believe it's Michigan. If not, it was another state where they were having the fucking quote unquote protest in the state house. And what shocked me, and I'll never get over this, is you literally have people with armed to the teeth, open carry, not pushing, physically assaulting officers on camera. I'm not imagining that. That
Okay.
did occur. And
Yeah.
what I've seen is no arrests for
In
that.
that case,
I'll
yeah.
be clear.
Fuck them if they. I didn't see that, which I'm not disputing you. I just didn't see that. That's all. But I wasn't watching every single news source and I guess video on that thing. I just saw there was no rioting, there's no looting. Okay. So, but if that was happening, listen, if that was happening, I've watched so many fucking fucked up videos by law enforcement, which we're gonna get into this in a minute, more than likely, about bad cops being protected. But I've literally seen people that were peaceful protesting that have been arrested for peaceful protesting,
nothing.
and it's fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
And the thing for me that was the most egregious problem when I saw that, oh, this really is way more systematic than I previously thought, is that after ex-officer Chauvin got arrested, there were more than 70 officers protecting his house. More than 70 protecting his house. That is 70 people that should never, ever hold a position of power ever. We all saw that video. And if you thought that what he did was okay, and don't get me wrong, I don't want a mob to rip the guy apart. I want justice to be done through our justice system, and I want it to be done properly. But when you have 70 officers protecting a guy that murdered a man for 9 minutes, that shows me that the problem was not just those 4 fucking guys. It's at this point it's 79 guys in one city. 79 people in one city. Do you understand what I'm saying here? That is a lot of people in one city that are corrupt as fuck, and they are still on the police force, quote unquote, protecting and serving. They were not protecting and serving in front of that guy's house. He's not even a police officer anymore. He's not. He's a normal civilian. But you decided, all 75 of you motherfuckers decided that, you know, because he used to be a cop, that he's good to go. Listen, I'm gonna tell you as a U.S. Marine, if I knew any goddamn U.S. Marine that went out there and murdered somebody in cold blood like that for 9 fucking minutes, to me, you're not a Marine anymore. You can go fuck yourself. You know what I mean? You're kicked out of my group. You're kicked out of my goddamn team, even though I don't really believe in teams. But if you're a Marine, generally speaking, like, we usually have the same sort of mindset. But if you do some shit like some vile shit like that, we ain't good. We're not good. The fact that 75 people were like, yeah, we're still good to go. I'm going to protect you. I got your back. Why do you have his back? I want to see every single one of them fired.
Can I get one? I'm so sorry. I know we're talking over.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
This is gonna be 10 seconds. Just to point out one other big thing. Omar Jimenez, the CNN anchor that got arrested on air.
Oh, that shit was...
I know you hear the Omar Jimenez and you think of a Latin person, dark skin, Afro Latino, whatever, black man basically. That was also one of the most and that happened in Minneapolis. That was one of the most egregious arrests I've ever fucking seen in my entire life. I'm glad he's safe. I'm glad nobody lost their life. But when we talk about Minneapolis and quote unquote riots and whatnot and lawlessness, that was some wild shit.
Well, you know what's funny? Like,
are you eating a lemon?
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say this motherfucker eating a lime.
He's eating an apple.
Eating an apple.
Yeah. So when he got arrested, the funny part for me was that he was. This is the cognitive dissonance again. I'm gonna call it out when I see it, and this is another one. I don't want to talk over anybody, but I need to now because it's the cognitive dissonance thing that occurred with that guy. Forget his name. Jimenez. What's his first name? Omar Jimenez, right?
Omar.
Yeah, Omar Jimenez. All right, I watched the video. After I watched the video, I looked at the comments and I looked at other comments. They were like, "Well, he didn't move." I was like, "He asked, where can I go?" I can hear the officer speaking. They didn't say where he could go. They just arrested him.
They're like, you can go to jail.
Yeah, but then also on the other side, I'm gonna keep it at 100 right now. Okay, 100% is that CNN when they showed that arrest, which is fucked up. It was real fucked up. They were like, well, this Caucasian reporter didn't get arrested, but what they didn't also mention is that there was everybody that was with Omar Jimenez got arrested. And his producer was Caucasian, the cameraman was Caucasian, his backup guy was Caucasian, so that was CNN kind of skewing shit. But at the same time, it's no excuse for like the bullshit that the officers did. They didn't need to arrest that guy. They didn't need to arrest any of them because he literally asked you, "Hey, I'm trying to abide by what you're saying. Tell me where to go, and I'll go there." And you saying nothing and arresting him and not giving him any reason.
So his whole crew was arrested too? Like, it wasn't just him. It was the cameraman and such and such.
That's
Like,
right.
everybody that was on the team for that news company, right?
Yeah, they did. And there were Caucasians. I saw his producer getting pulled away and the cameraman. They were both not people of color. So...
Yeah.
The whole Michigan thing was...
I was going to say, I saw another newscaster. She was live on TV, and the police told her to back away. And before she could even respond, and this is a blonde white lady, the cop had a paintball gun, and he lit up her and her camera crew. And she's screaming, I'm getting shot, like, oh, that hurts. And she's live, and her rest of her anchor team is like, hey, are you okay? What's going on? Because she ran off camera, but she's like, hey, they're shooting me with something. I don't think she knew what it was, but clearly she has a paintball gun.
They're pepper balls.
Looked like looked like a paintball gun because it has a hopper and everything.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a paintball gun that shoots paper balls.
Okay.
Yeah.
But still, she didn't even get a chance to respond. He just opened fired on her. I was like, wow.
Dude, hold on.
The Michigan thing, yeah, that was. Oh.
Stitch, hold on. I'm sidetracking you, but I'm asking you a legit question. Do you find it hilarious that people are that law enforcement is using pepper spray and all these gases, and people are wearing masks? I find it fucking hilarious. Like everybody's already wearing masks.
There's so many levels to like craziness because it's like, okay, and I'm when I'm watching like these protesters and stuff like that, it's just like the way I kind of look at things. What stands out to me are the people with like legit like military grade masks and everything.
I have them.
It's like, where did you get that from? And like, it's just like I see the people like the regular face mask and be like, yo, I'm so pissed off. I gotta protest. I gotta hit these streets. I'm gonna put on my mask or whatever, and that's fine. But it's like these people have full on like sort of riot gas masks that they didn't order off Amazon Prime like a couple hours ago. They've had that shit.
Stitch, you
can previously, so it's
you can order. So the mask.
Well, yeah, you can order it, but it's just like
they're prepared.
Like they're ready. It's like I've been waiting for this shit. Like
I mean, like right now,
the Michigan.
They're like, it's my time to try to hit a button on their bookcase and everything opens up and there's all this fucking rioting here.
Yeah, the John Wick wall turn.
Yeah.
The Michigan thing was fucking crazy because it's like, okay, we all saw that happen within like the past couple of weeks. And like I said about the perfect storm, we've all been sort of, in theory, cooped up inside with nothing else better to do than watch TV and see what the fuck's been on. The Michigan thing where literally Prodigy was saying, with people just putting their hands and pushing law enforcement officials while these armed
in their face.
These armed militia people are just surrounding a government building was just absolutely mind-blowing to me. There was that incident that happened in like Nevada, like maybe a couple of years ago, where there was that ranch, the Cliven Bundy or Cliven something ranch, where essentially there was sort of like a Mexican standoff between like law enforcement and regular people, where just guns are pointed at law enforcement officials, and everyone's just like, we know you have your guns pointed at us, but let us talk. Like I can't wrap my brain around that, because normally, like you said, that's suicide by cop. For a regular dude in the street, that's suicide by cop.
I'd rather that dude that looks like us.
But I will say this: I've been so amazed and impressed, because when I look at these protests taking place, it's like it's just a mix of people. These are not all black people out here protesting this bullshit going on. There are a shit ton of white people, Mexican, Asian, Indian, all out here protesting, hitting the streets, and saying Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is not a black only thing. People understand that it's not just some sort of propaganda terrorist organization. They understand that saying that means that you value people of color's lives as equally as non-people of color's lives, and this is bullshit.
Yeah, and
I was just saying, like all this protesting is happening in different countries too. Like, it's not just happening here in the U.S. Like, it's
around the world,
over in Australia, over in British, the UK. Like, all the different countries are participating in this. So it's not just here in America where black people are protesting the violence that's happening against us.
I want to. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just real quick is like, if you listen to previous podcasts, I have lightly criticized the Black Lives Matter movement, just to be perfectly honest with you. But I understand Now, the point. All right. So what I wasn't putting two and two together now, to be perfectly honest with you, is that we were asking for help, and I think that's what some people. If you're in the All Lives Matter group, you need to understand that when people are saying Black Lives Matter, they're asking for help. And I'm trying to break it down into a smaller, bite-sized morsel that you can, digest. Is that people are asking for help because you saying all lives matter, meanwhile you haven't really experienced the same sort of issues that people of color have experienced. You saying that all lives matter, if somebody says Black Lives Matter, it's like, yeah, if you want to explain to me like your issues, growing up in America, I'll listen to you. Like, tell me how bad your life has been. I'll listen to you. But then you also need to hear my story. Hear my story and other people's story. And my story isn't that bad, but in retrospect, I've ignored shit. And I think people really just understand that the experience of certain people here in America are vastly different from other Americans. And the All Lives Matter shit, it needs to stop. When I see the All Lives Matter thing now, what it tells me is that somebody that is willing to ignore any sort of issues other than what they're having. Because they're like, hey, my life is great. Everybody's life is great. It's got to be great. Because my life is great. To me, that's what All Lives Matter means at this point in time. And that is not the way it is for a good portion of America. And you need to educate yourself on that. If you don't want to, whatever, I guess. But what's giving me hope is, like, I was literally looking up, like, the top Audible books. And I think it was, like, 6 of the top 10 Audible books right now all deal with race. All of them.
Can I do a quick? I'm sorry to cut you off, but
go ahead. If you got a book,
it's a perfect fucking segue.
Look at that!
I got the book right here.
Yeah.
This one is called, and I've read it. I read it 2 or 3 years ago. When They Call You a Terrorist, Black Lives Matter memoir. This is by the actual creators, in their own fucking words, in their lives. Patrice Khan-Coolers and Asha Bandali. Yeah. Look, I'll give it to anybody. I don't give a fuck. Hit me up on fucking online at Cthulhu's Prodigy or at BTI. Literally, if you actually give a shit and want to read and educate yourself, listen to them for themselves. I'll give you a whole bunch of fucking book recommendations if you actually give a shit and care. But this is one of them as a quick fucking book plug. When They Call You a Terrorist is literally from the founders.
I want to listen to
exactly.
White Fragility is one I want to listen to because that's number one Audible right now. I'm just like, whoa, like for real. Like now I'm interested. I listen to books, but like sci-fi books and shit. So
people really do try to distract the actual what the actual words are saying by saying like Black Lives Matter. People will be like, oh, well, did you go to their website and you're seeing how they want to do this and do that and like defund the police and overthrow the government and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm not that deep into it, but it's just as simple as me saying power to the people. Is just saying Black lives do matter, because for so long, and I even feel like sort of naive. I feel like even naive saying like for so long or whatever is a 39-year-old male or whatever, because our parents have gone through much more crazier shit, our grandparents have gone through much more crazier shit than this minuscule shit that we are going on or dealing with or whatever. And I don't want to like disrespect that they're the stuff that they're going through with, but it's just like I want people to know that, and they need to realize that in this full term of equality, you need to recognize that Black lives do matter, and there it seems to be a organization or shadow forces saying that they don't. And it's something that we need to recognize before. And I want to just sort of give a teaser before we transition into Trump or whatever. I want to make sure, because some people might not want to listen to what we got to say about Trump or whatever. But in terms of each one of you guys, because I've had, and the really cool part about this, along with seeing like other white people approaches, I've had people message me, give me phone calls and stuff like that about like, yo, how do I feel about this, or what are your thoughts on this, and like they want to actually listen and hear what it is that we have to say. And I encourage people to do that. Have those, I don't want to even say like uncomfortable conversations, because if they're your friend and if you are actually genuinely going to them, asking them like their opinion or listening to their stories, it's not an awkward conversation, or it's not an uncomfortable conversation. It's you showing empathy for something that they've gone through that you might not have any fucking clue about. And it's no fault of yours. And if you are a black person listening to this, don't make those people feel fucking guilty for not being aware of the struggle or your personal life stories that you have gone through. Listen to them, answer their questions as respectfully, and don't like talk down to them about stuff, because they're being humble about what it is that they do not know.
Thank you.
So have those conversations with people. But the question that people have asked me during those conversations is like, where do we go from here? And they'll ask me like, how do we get better? And that is something that like I've been thinking about before I even had the question asked to me. And I'm gonna let you guys jump in, because initially when it was asked me, I was like, I don't even fucking know right now or whatever, because that's deep, and you got to give me a second to think about it. But go ahead. When people ask you guys, and you touched about it, especially Kronos, on when I guess K-Mac was just seeing everything going on around her and asking your thoughts on it and asking in-depth stuff with you about it. But when other people ask their black friends, how do we get better from here? What do we do? What can I do? What are your answers to them?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the main things is like actually have a conversation with your person of the person of color that you're speaking to. Ask them, what was your experience in America growing up? I think that for me is the very first step for most people to like, because they need to empathize with you. And I think that most Caucasians here in America, they assume that their experience in America is everybody's experience in America. And I can't fault them for thinking like that, because this is just the way that America is designed. But we're gonna smash down these walls. All right, we're gonna start showing you, at least starting with me. I'm gonna show you exactly what I went through as a person of color here in America, and like the bullshit. And I'm gonna do a certain episode that has to do with internal racism, with my upbringing and the shit that I went through as an African American boy. And it's going to be a very difficult podcast for me to do, and I don't know how long it's going to take for me to do it, because I need to be emotionally prepared to do it. But it's going to be probably the realest shit that most people have ever heard, and you're probably not prepared to hear it, because it's real fucked up. And I think Prodigy knows what I'm talking about, because he knows what happened. So he knows part of what happened. Actually, mostly what I went through when I was a kid, and it's fucked up. I think that is one of the first steps. Other steps is realizing that, just think about the way that you view people of color. When you see a story of somebody that, like, this is a perfect example. Like I gave it earlier today, with George Floyd. If when he got arrested and they said that he was arrested for forgery, did you automatically assume that he actually forged something? Did you automatically assume that he gave a fraudulent $20 bill to somebody on purpose? If that's what you thought immediately when you heard this story, then there is some racism within you. It's there. Yeah. Just recognize that. I think that is a good first step, and I think we need to do this in incremental steps. All right, because if we pull the wool away from everybody's eyes right away, they're not going to be prepared. Like Prodigy, he shared a bunch of Twitter stories earlier today, and it's hilarious because I noticed how nobody really responded to it. I responded to it, and it's about how historically what has happened to African Americans, here in America, about how they killed us and skinned us, how they skinned us alive, how they stole our hair and used it for filling and pillows, how they hung us, how they made sons rape their mothers, how they had animals destroy our bodies. All these things are in American history, And that's a small taste of the horrific events that have happened here in America. And I understand that most Americans are not comfortable hearing it, but guess what? It was real fucking uncomfortable if you went through it. All right? And it was real fucking uncomfortable if your parents lived through a time where they went through it and they thought that they fucking won, and now, 40 plus years after they thought they won, we're going through the same fucking bullshit. Could you imagine if the Holocaust happened and then all of a sudden in 2020 they're still killing Jews? Could you imagine that shit?
Just even think about it like this. It was something that was put in something I heard that was really very simplistic. It's just like, your name is a black African American is not your real fucking name. Like in terms of your last name, that is something that you were just branded as and everything. Like most people can go back in their history and find out their lineage and their family name and go back to this, that, whatever. But at some point, you just go back with African Americans. It is what you were branded as because you were a piece of property.
Yeah.
So when you were started off at day fucking one, and when it hit me, I just literally I look at my daughter Storm, and I'm just like, holy fucking shit! Like we're all fucking 39, 40s and everything, but it's just like you had that light bulb moment. You're like, yeah, like it was. From day one, and I've never even played the video game, The Stick of Truth, where it's like when you want to do the level of difficulty.
Yeah.
That is so fucking on point.
Yeah.
So on point with exactly what it is that you go through.
Well, it's crazy too because if you I did the whole 23andMe, and they do the whole bloodline litter, lean.
23 and rapes.
Yeah, and when it came to my black side, it just says oh, you came from West Africa. It didn't go down further, but with my other lineature, it showed oh yeah, part of you from this part of from Ireland or something like that, where this and this happened. It doesn't give you any fucking details because there's no fucking details out there because a lot of our ancestors were fucking stolen from their own fucking country. So it's nobody knows where the fuck anybody's really from, and it's fucking hard.
So Prodigy, jump in and Old Ninja jump in on that. What is it that you think people need to help do to get better, help this progress?
You know what? Let Old Ninja get in first, and then I'll jump in after him. Go ahead, Old Ninja. Are you there?
I see his hat.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I'm here. I'm just it's a very, very broad and open-ended question. I feel like that conversation would take the span of several days, to try to empathize and find out just the inner workings of being not just black, but a minority in the U.S. because you are looked at differently, both personally and professionally, and you're looked at differently from a society as a whole. And it's kind of hard to sometimes relay that to people that have not had the similar experience to you as you. It's kind of hard. It's like you have to, it's like you're Alice in Wonderland, right? And you go to the Wonderland and try to explain Wonderland to someone who's never been there before, but you're Alice. How do you explain Wonderland and all of its craziness to someone who's never been there before? It's not really that easy, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's something that, I think Stitch already touched on the main points. You need to, if you're going to have an active conversation, you both need to listen, and it can't be a competition. Well, this doesn't happen to you, but it happens to me type of thing. You just need to share your own personal experience. Don't try to make it some kind of pity party, and don't try to make it you're trying to out
grievance the other person.
The oppression, the oppression Olympics is what I like to call it.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, the best thing you can ever do is bring forth the truth, because as I say, the truth will light the way. That's what I got.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. The question really is centered around the conversation with people asking, "What can I do to help?" Right?
Yeah.
Just to be clear.
What can I do?
Okay.
Or what can we do to make it better?
Yeah.
How do we get better?
So, yeah, I've had these questions, especially this past week, a lot of people slid in the DMs, not with dick pics, but with these types of questions. And what I have been saying is, here's more fucking books. Here's more movies and documentaries that can help have a more informed conversation. You know, and I've mentioned some of them on the air already here, but I think that can help. In addition to that, trying to speak out and fight as much as you possibly can, even if it's just doing some shit posting and tweeting or donating, to help have things more level and equal when it comes to whether it's law enforcement or whether it's the actual voting rights or whether it's the stuff with probation. Trying to have a more level playing field and being aware that it is not the same. People are not treated exactly identical. I'm not ever treated like Martha Stewart by anybody. You know what I mean? And some of that has to do with class too. But being able to say things are not hunky-dory right now. Here's more education. Here's more things to read. Here's more books. And then let's try to inform others about how we can slowly dig ourselves out of this pitfall and get to a place where whether you're a white kid born in Appalachian into poverty or someone, you know, living in Bel Air with the Fresh Prince, you can have the same opportunity to thrive in America. That's what I try to do.
That's good. Stitch, let me ask you a question because...
Wait, I didn't get a chance to voice.
Oh, sure you didn't. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. So for me, like, it's hard to say, like, the best, like, the way we can change, I would say, like, we need to have some kind of governance inside the police force where, you know, police officers are accountable for, like, taking somebody's life. But, you know, the media needs to change as well. Like, we need to show how, you know, how white people are treated when it comes to certain things, but, like, you know, informing people about, like, how, like, you know, how black people are kind of oppressed and how things are held back from us, or how, you know, certain, like, people need to see, like, what's happening with us. Like, you know, we go into a store and we're being followed around the store, like, stuff like that. Like, people need to see, like, this stuff has actually happened. And, like, even though, you know, it's been years since, like, the whole civil rights movement, like, the stuff still fucking happens. Like, even now, like, when I go into stores, like, you know, I can be followed around and I don't look like somebody who would steal something, but, you know, that notion is still, like, on the back of my mind. Like, you know, at, like, Safeway, you know how they have the self-checkouts. And, like, you know, you bring up your stuff and you, like, there's always somebody, like, standing there, like, watching you, and I always have a feeling like they're gonna, and actually that has happened. They have stopped me and made sure that, like, you know, I run up everything. And it's like, dude, I got fucking money. I know how to pay for my shit. But, you know, I think in the long run, like, sad to say, I think a few generations of people are gonna have to fucking, like, die for a lot of this stuff to go away, because, you know, we still have people with that old mentality of, like, you know, black people are thugs. They're gonna fucking rob, shoot, do drugs. They're no good for nothing. And, like, it's gonna take a long fucking time and a lot of change. And, like, you know, it's already been 80 years since the civil rights movement, and, like, this shit still fucking happened. So it's really fucking hard to say, like, if there ever is gonna be any change, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree, man. Oh, and I actually have a question for Stitch, because this is something that it's kind of unique to me and him. So we are, both of our significant others are Caucasian. So have you had, like, difficult conversations over the past week or so?
Yes. It's been.
Oh man.
At first, it was. I mean, well, it's important. I mean, obviously, I mean, same thing with Blue. Blue's got a Hispanic girlfriend and wife. Sorry, my bad. So these are things that do need to be talked about, and I sort of had the eye-opening thing, and I don't want to put, like, her business out there completely, but it's just like growing up in California, like all of us did or whatever. We are used to civil unrest. When I mean, only in California where we riot, not rally. I mean, that's in California. That's in California love or whatever. I mean, that's what it is or whatever. We're used to it. Just how people maybe in Nebraska are used to tornadoes and shit like that. We're used to people in the streets or whatever. And when they're pissed off about something, they're gonna let you know you're pissed off about it. Where it got a little bit close to home with Lila or whatever is because she works in one of these major cities, and we're all working from home. But her place of work, they're outside of it and they're graffitiing it and doing all kinds of damage. So it's mind blowing to her, and that's no fault of it. It's not her being naive to it or anything like that. But it's just when you're in certain places, it doesn't hit home to you. Like, I mean, if I grew up living in fucking North Carolina or whatever, I have no concept of what it is to be down the road from a riot or what is perceived to be civil unrest. And like we've talked about before, America's had a history of civil unrest and riots and et cetera. We all, for the most part, I believe we were all in California, not in LA proper, during the Rodney King riots.
Oh yeah.
So we remember with that, and where I'm sort of starting to change my tune, because at first I told Lila, I was like, dude, this ain't no big thing or whatever. I've seen this movie before. I know how it plays out. It happened in '92. Blah 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 blah. I ain't even stressing about this or whatever. But for somebody who's never been there before, it reminded me of my first time when I experienced my first fucking hurricane. My first hurricane was Katrina or whatever. So yeah, so it's like, welcome to the big leagues or whatever. And like a lot of people were just like, oh, it's no big deal, whatever. But it was something new to me, and I couldn't grasp any concept of it. But to tie it back into your question, she's had a lot of questions because she's been outraged. Well, she had a lot of questions why I didn't really care too much about the looting and the rioting aspect of it.
Yeah, because we've seen it before.
And I'm just like, I've seen it before. I'm like, it's no big deal to me. And actually, one day we called my mom put her on speakerphone just so we could have some sort of historical sort of wraparound about everything that was going on. But we've had a lot of interesting conversations because a lot of stuff that I presumed that she knew or should know, she didn't know. And I don't want to, if she's listening, I don't want to make it seem like I'm talking down to her, or that the echo thing is messing with me. I can't hear when I hear my own voice talking. But
there we go.
When
fixed it.
thank you. When she's asking me some of these questions, I need to remind myself she just doesn't know, because it's no fault of it. It is that of hers. Like, I mean, and there's some stuff about Black history that I don't fucking know or whatever. I mean, like with the whole Black Wall Street stuff, we talked about it. I had no idea about Black Wall Street, and as much as it is,
it wasn't just me.
I believe I mentioned that. I had no fucking idea about it because some stuff gets glossed over in Black history, and I take a lot of pride being from California and having that inclusive relationship with all kinds of cultures, backgrounds, and diversity. Some stuff you can't cover it all in a school year. So I missed over some of that, and I don't understand some of the historical points of that. And especially for somebody who lived out of state and just came here, or doesn't know what it's like to be Black or a person of color, they have questions. And so I can't be frustrated or mad or be like, what are you talking about? Why are you so pissed that they're breaking the windows at Target? Like, I need to like pause my and you just need to like pump the brakes and look at yourself, be like, yo, Stitch, calm down or whatever. Because when I'm saying to her or that, like, I don't give a fuck about Target right now. I don't give a fuck about Walgreens or CVS. and they're like, yo, oh my God, so this building is on fire and it's burning. I'm like, is anybody inside? No? Okay, well, okay. And like, it sounds cold and callous, and I'm sorry if that's just me, but I'm just
they got insurance.
I value. Yeah, I'm like, they're gonna pay for it. If it's a small business, I'm like, well, I hope that they have insurance, but that's a risk when you buy and own a business. If the little coffee shop down on the corner of First Street and North Livermore Avenue is burned down to the ground, it sucks because I really love their coffee. But they can rebuild it. They're not gonna die over a $20 bill, essentially. And what I've done for myself and is I'm sort of kind of we're just gonna have conversations and we're gonna start watching like movies and historical events because I would just like sort of ask because everybody knows Martin Luther King. Racists love Martin Luther King. Let that sink in. Racists love to quote Martin Luther King or whatever.
Yeah, I saw it this week. I did a whole like multiple minutes on this shit about them misrepresenting what the fuck he was talking about.
Yeah. Oh yeah, to fit their own needs or whatever, just like they do with the Bible. But that's a whole different discussion for a whole different day.
Well, it's funny because like my intro for the podcast was going to be like, y'all guys love bringing up Martin Luther King about being a peaceful protest. You motherfuckers killed him. Like,
yes. But what we have decided to do, and I just told her, I was like, I wanted you to think I'm like talking down on you, but I'm just going to just ask you like just some questions so I know where we can begin these discussions or whatever. So I'm like, don't give me like a full background or a book report. Just like, what do you know about Martin Luther King? What do you know about Rosa Parks? What do you know about Malcolm X, Emmett Till, George Washington Carver, the Montgomery bus boycotts, and just like sort of things in Black history that we kind of maybe assume that other people know. A lot of people don't have any idea, or they have like very limited idea in terms of, and maybe I'll get some grief later on, but like when I brought up the topic of like Rosa Parks or whatever, I was like, oh, so what do you know about it? She's like, bus boycotts, and they beat her because she was sitting in the back, and I was just like, I'm like, no, and I'm like, that's no fault of her for not knowing, because maybe they didn't talk about it in her school, or they just glossed over it like for a 10-minute period before recess. They're like, oh, bus boycott or whatever. Most people don't have any idea how long the bus boycott lasted. They assume that the crazy thing is that they assume that entire thing was just peaceful, that white people were just cool with us not taking the bus.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Like I literally,
while they're walking to work.
Wow.
No, we laugh. We're laughing about this, but no, real talk. People don't know
I'm
about
not
this
laughing.
shit.
I'm not laughing.
I pulled it up because I was like, it was over a year, so I pulled it up and everything, and
they don't know.
I read through the Wikipedia.
They don't know that she even fucking moved out of her seat. They don't know that.
Yeah. I had to break down the like how it worked because I was kind of confused, and I was like, I know if there were no one on the bus, you could give it up, but I was like, let me look it up so I make sure I have it right. And then as I'm going down just a plain old Wikipedia thing, it was just like, the day after that it happened, somebody came to Martin Luther King's door and shot through the front door with a motherfucking shotgun. Somebody took sniper shots at Rosa Parks. They were just shooting at people walking. It would just be like, oh, the black nanny who was not getting, like, the people that is taking care of your kids as a white American or whatever, you wouldn't even have the decency to give them a ride home back to their fucking home that they lived in. It's like, all right, I'll see you later, fucking, or whatever, and you would just let your help walk all the way home on the bad side of town, and whatever happened to her, or whatever happened to her while she was walking home, that was just part of the game, or whatever. People, teenage white kids, were just throwing eggs or throwing liquids on her or whatever. It just is what it was. People weren't just like, oh, there's a black lady that's just not taking the bus or whatever. No, they were fucking throwing shit, calling her names, and just belittling and doing all kinds of violent shit to her while she was protesting nonviolent. So miss me with that motherfucking talk about how people were being nonviolent and nonviolent was the way. Even when we were doing nonviolent shit, y'all were doing violent shit to us. But yeah, we've had that conversation, and we are sort of going through, and each day we're going to discuss something, watch something on TV or a movie, and I'm just going to answer her questions honestly because it's important, especially as now a new father of a biracial kid who my kid won't darken up. I put her in the sun, she looks light as fuck. I can't do anything about it. That's all I got to live with.
Can I give you? I
gotta make sure.
I can give you some small hope. So Riley was super light for like a couple of, like maybe a month or so, but your kids are older than that. But she was like, she had straight hair and was super light skinned for like at least a month, and then all of a sudden everything changed. But yeah, her hair was straight for a while.
My sister was light. Like I wasn't even worried because my sister is crazy light skinned, same complexion as Storm. But my sister officially like darkened out after like 3 months.
Yeah, it takes
Storm because of this motherfucking quarantine.
Oh, she can't get outside.
Can't get no sun. Yeah, so I'm just like, God damn it, or whatever. So it's like when she does have questions about stuff, and let's say I'm not around, not because like something morbid's gonna happen to me, but if let's say Storm comes home from school one day and someone made a joke saying, "Oh, you need to get to the back of the bus because you're black or whatever." I need to make sure that if I'm not there, her mother can explain to her in detail what those motherfuckers meant when they said that, and then give some historical context behind it and everything, because we need to educate future generations on this shit. And so it's something that we both decided, just humbly, that we're gonna work on together as a couple.
I'm glad you said that. You basically said what I wanted to hear, pretty much. So thank you. Yeah, me and K-Mac, it was like last week. She was in tears on the couch, and I was just like, "What the fuck?" And she was like, "When did you have the talk?" And I was like, "What?" I was like, "The fuck?" I was like,
"But you're like, but when a mama bear loves a papa bear."
I don't mean to interrupt your story, but it's always that weird question. Like, for me, Lilo asked me, "When was the first time someone called you the N-word?" And I was like, "Oh, well, huh?"
Yeah, not prepared.
I was confused, and I was
not
like,
prepared.
I don't know, but it's happened.
Yeah. So that caught me all off guard, and like the fact that she didn't know about that. But this is the problem. All right, this is part of the problem. Okay, is that people don't understand that there's a thing called the talk, and then once she realized that there was a thing called the talk, she was just like, I think her version of America, like her picture of America, kind of shattered. If y'all didn't know, if you listen to this podcast, because there's a lot of people that listen to this podcast that are not of African descent, or are not minority. So listen, there's a talk that pretty much every African American child has. I'm sorry, every African American parent has with their children about how they're probably going to get treated when they grow up. And the fact that basically you're gonna probably be a second-class citizen for the rest of your fucking life,
and break down the rules. Of being black,
like what you should and should not do, especially around Caucasians. All right, and she didn't know that.
Caucasians in power as well.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, like how to basically prostrate yourself to law enforcement, and she didn't know anything about that, and I was just like, well. Yeah, talks have happened, and then when she had to realize that she had to give, or we had to give, this same talk to our daughter, like, it hit her fucking hard, you know? So I was like, damn, and I think that the problem is, and this is going to be a controversial statement, but please, when I say this, don't stop listening, hear me out, okay? I think the problem in America is Black History Month. Okay, I said it. Hear me out. If you listen to this podcast, we already talked about the key players. We talked about Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, Rosa Parks, blah blah blah. You all heard of them, of course.
The A-listers.
Because you heard about them during Black History Month. That's the reason why you know about them. What you don't know is all the slew of other African Americans that are out there because we are relegated to one fucking month. All right, our history is American history, and it needs to be taught with the rest of American history. When you don't hear about, I forget the guy's first name, but Carver, the peanut butter guy, and all this other stuff.
George Washington.
Thank you. There we go. Sorry, I've been drinking, y'all. All right, but when you don't hear about him alongside of other Caucasian inventors, that's a fucking problem. We don't hear about the guy that invented the stoplight. Sorry, I've been drinking. All right, I'm gonna fuck part of this up.
I think his name's Jan. I'll give it to you. Keep going.
There's all kinds of the guy that invented the Super Soaker, the guy that invented. There's all kinds of shit that African American inventors invented, but you don't hear about it because I have to cram in these certain African Americans in one fucking month. If you can just teach our history alongside of the rest of American history and the history of Asian Americans and Hispanic Americans, and not only teach just Caucasian American history for the rest of the fucking years besides 1 month, that'll be a fucking good start for the vast majority of Americans, so they can understand that what we went through and that we are also part of your history. I think it's a problem. So I listened to this from the guy that the African American guy who basically converted a whole bunch of Klansmen. I forget his name.
Yeah, he was on the Joe Rogan show.
Yeah, this is why I should write shit down because I wasn't expecting to say this. I usually don't write shit down, but he broke down why we shouldn't be having.
Daryl Davis, right?
There we go, Daryl Davis. That's his name.
And the guy who did the stoplight is Garrett Morgan.
Thank you very much. This is why we're a team.
Yeah.
This is awesome. But yeah, we're silencing other prominent and important people of color voices because we're relegating them to 1 month for whatever, and even women as well. We have a Women's Month, you know, where there's other women that have invented stuff and that are very prominent women, but we relegate them to a month. Like, why are we doing that?
Yeah.
We need to just teach it throughout all of the year so that way when the month is done, you don't fucking forget about them. Because when you teach, you know, African American history during Black History Month, and you know you have it in February, and then March comes around, you know, and it's not reinforced that there are more people like them that contributed positively to American society, you're gonna forget about it, you know. And that's anything is like that. Like, can you imagine doing like, how can I equate this to like math? Could you imagine doing like algebra, but you only focused on like fractions, actually, for like a week?
Yeah.
You know, that's the equivalency. It's like, oh yeah, you know, here you got fractions for a week, but the rest of the year we're gonna teach all this other shit. It's important too, but yeah, so are fucking fractions. You know, you should probably reinforce fractions too. You know, it's like, come on. And I think that we're doing a disservice to our education system. It's fucking bullshit.
Yeah, like even like I took Black History Month in college, and we didn't touch. I don't remember at all ever talking about the whole Black Wall Street thing. We didn't talk about any like Black inventors. We just talked about like civil rights. Like, we talked about how we try to change our lives to make it better, but we didn't talk about people who were like making the world a better place, or go into more details about, like, you know, like for example, like Rosa Parks, or even like the bus strike. I don't remember even talking about that, like how, like, you know, the strike lasted for a year, and like the bus system was going bankrupt because mainly Black people were taking the bus. So it's like there's shit out there that, you know, they're just not really teaching people.
Well, I can tell you. Sorry, what?
I was gonna say.
Go ahead, man.
But I did read the book fucking Roots. Like, I know that fucking book in and out. Which is, it's somewhat fictional, but, you know, it is based on somewhat of a true story.
Wait, Blue, you said in college or in high school?
In college.
That was weird, because my experience was... Oh, see, I took a year-long course at San Jose State. No, mine was a year-long, and we went through a lot of history, a lot of stuff. We had to write papers. We went through a bunch, and it was taught by an African-American professor. And we went through a bunch. We went through African involvement in the Revolutionary War, because everyone kept talking about how there were no Black people in the Revolutionary War. He was like, oh, that's what you thought? Nope. He brought up... we went through... So we had our
Benjamin Banneker.
Yeah, our textbook was a book called Before the Mayflower.
Yes.
Yeah, and we went through that literally page by fucking page, and it was like we had to write a paper on that. We had to write a paper on Malcolm X's autobiography, and then we had to find someone who was part of the Reconstruction era and write a paper on that too. So and it was like super like intense. And like literally the very first day of class, the professor said, just because you're Black does not mean you get a free pass. You're going to do the work. If you don't do the work, you're not passing. And on top of that, he also said that you need to encourage your white friends to take this course.
I
That
went
fucked
to
me
Louisiana, University of Louisiana. Old Ninja went to San Jose State, but I know you, Prodigy, went to an HBCU,
So did
Clark
I.
University in Atlanta. Oh,
Yeah.
wait, what?
I went my freshman year was at Morris Brown College.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Was stuff taught differently there in terms of like Black history or whatever? I mean, that's a whole different topic for a different day about everything that happens at HBCU compared to like regular other colleges. But in terms of like history, go.
Yeah, quick, short answer, yes. More detailed, although it's just regular classes, so it's certainly not mandatory per se. But if you are taking certain electives, depending on your major, yes, you can get deep into some African American or just African diaspora history classes. That is a yes. Quick shout out to Mama Prodigy, who is a English teacher. Mama Prodigy made sure that my young black ass was reading so many fucking black history books. They were coming out of my fucking ears. I was rolling my eyes. I'm doing the same goddamn thing with my kids now. They can't stand me for it. I'm also making them watch shit that they don't want to watch and gives them nightmares, like the Selma stuff, things with the Klan in it, things about the Civil War. There is a responsibility with parents that I want to see. I know I got two other parents on the show. There's a responsibility with parents that has to be part of the conversation. The school is not going to educate your child properly on history. It's never going to fucking happen. You got to, as a parent, make that motherfucker read till they hate you.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. Just as a teaser, hopefully I will be, and I love that because I didn't know how I would address Mama Prodigy, but I love that name or whatever. So hopefully tomorrow I plan on interviewing Mama Prodigy about her experiences in the civil rights era and stuff like that. So I don't think, and I thought about it. I'm like, it'd be an amazing field trip to get Lilo to hear firsthand and witness that. But she'll probably have to watch Storm. But I cannot wait to ask her so many questions because Mama Prodigy will spoon feed you that castor oil, whether you like it or not, or whatever. And you go and taste it, you go and drink it, and when you think you're full, here's another spoonful, and you gonna take it.
Real quick teaser for that. My grandfather, her dad, he passed away like a couple years ago, 2018, maybe 2019. That house is walking distance. You can throw a fucking football to Rosa Parks' former house. Family, friends, and whatnot. And when I was back there for the funeral, all the stories were about how Rosa Parks was like as a human being in the same age as we were.
So are you talking about family?
Like, yeah.
So I'm gonna really try to figure out a way because I really want Lilo to hear that interview live in person and anything, and to see if we can make that happen for tomorrow and everything.
So you know what's weird?
Sorry, just kind of a sidebar real quick. Sorry, since we mentioned Rosa Parks. This is why we need like better education on Black History Month because when Barbie released the Rosa Parks Barbie doll, when I saw it, I was super fucking offended because Rosa Parks was light-skinned, and I thought to myself, I'm like, is Rosa Parks light-skinned or is she dark? I always thought she was dark. I thought she was dark, and I went and looked at a picture of her. I was like, dude, I felt like I was in like a parallel universe. It's like everything I thought I knew about Rosa Parks, that shit was just out the window. So she wasn't like a traditional looking black lady. She was a Redbone basically.
Well, this is the weird thing is that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying like it really doesn't matter the shade of your skin. Like if you are of black descent, you were hated on back then, and it still kind of goes on now.
Yeah, well, and it's weird the fact that they needed to darken her skin up to make it seem more acceptable in the history books.
Yep.
Like
Yeah,
that shit is real fucked up. So the one thing that I've been realizing lately, so me and Prodigy we're related. If y'all didn't know, we're cousins.
Now you're claiming me.
Yeah. But if y'all didn't know, At least on my side. So I'm gonna ask Prodigy because I actually don't know the answer to this question. I'm gonna ask him.
Mhm.
So on my side, my biological father and my mom were both in the Black Panthers. So I have like a whole history of civil rights stuff that I thought it was done. I was like, yeah, we fucking won. And what I'm realizing now is that like these recent events have woken up. Like it's like my parents left seeds within me to start fighting, and that's why you're getting all of these videos now, because I think that there was something that was always there inside of me to like fight this sort of injustice that is just laid dormant for so long, and now it's waking up. So my question to Prodigy is, was your mom also part of the civil rights? Because I honestly don't know. Was she part of the civil rights movement? Was she also in the Black Panthers with my mom?
Go ruin my interview.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm not sure.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Stay tuned for that answer.
I'm going to say this. I'll wait for Mama Prodigy to go into more detail because there may be some things I learned about my mom. I know for civil rights, yes, in Alabama.
Yeah.
But what's funny about what you mentioned, Kronos, I associate Panther Association and affiliation with my father.
Ah, okay.
Who grew up in Richmond.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
and
I mean,
obviously that's right down from Oakland.
Yeah.
And had lived in Oakland for plenty of years in his day. And he was the one that was always telling me the Panther stories. And to use give a shout out to a local bookshop. We would go in as a kid to Marcus's bookstore, the oldest independent black-owned bookstore in the fucking country, and we'd hear more stories about the Panthers and whatnot. So, and I heard that as a kid, and it was amazing. But I associate Panthers more with my dad, and with my mom more Montgomery, Rosa Parks, civil rights, MLK.
Well, I think that this is
that where we saw Rosa Parks at back in the day?
Yeah, actually, yes. I forgot about that. Yeah.
What's crazy is that what makes me the most infuriated about this whole thing is that, my mom, who isn't, I mean, she's still alive, but she is not in a condition to really understand what's going on. And my dad passed away. Prodigy's dad passed away. And both our dads died, likely assuming that what they did in their past made a giant change in America, and that they left a better life for their kids. And what's infuriating for me, at least, I don't know if you feel the same kind of rage, Prodigy, but the fact that both of our fathers died not knowing that they essentially failed. You know what I mean? But it's not their fault. I'm not putting it on them. Obviously, they were America lied to them in that whole generation in thinking that they won and that they were equal, that we are equal. The children of those people that fought for those rights, bled for those rights, died for those rights, they let them believe that they won and that their children's futures were going to be better. And it is clearly not the case. And that hurts part of my soul. I mean, really, to watch my parents' dreams dying on TV in front of me, and people to be so dismissive about that shit, that fucking all lives matter nonsense. When what did you fight for your all lives matter? Have you? Did your parents fight for your all lives matter? Did they? Are you going through the same shit? That people of color are? You're not. And if you there's no way you are. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I'm not dismissing the fact that Caucasians don't have fucking problems. I get it. If you're poor, if you live in a fucking trailer park, if you're addicted to fucking to drugs, all that shit, I got you. But you know what you don't understand? Is that you can still walk into a store and still not be looked at weird unless you're really fucked up. Unless you look really fucked up, then but you fucked up.
If you walk into the store and start singing and puking all over the floor, people are gonna look at you.
Yeah. But if I, as an African American man that has made a decent amount of money, you know what I mean? I'm not living in fucking poverty. I'm in the upper middle. I've been in the capitalist class. Google it if you want to. That's how much money I used to make. I used to be in the capitalist class. If me being the capitalist class and then walking in a liquor store, if somebody still looks at me everywhere that I go, that's what the fuck I'm talking about. That's what everybody is talking about. Okay, so just understand that shit.
Can I?
I
Can I
will.
add-
Oh, no.
I do want to get to Trump in just 1 second. I just want to piggyback one last quick thing. I'm so sorry. I know we're going all over the place.
Yeah, we are.
I don't care if we go long.
I'll break it up.
Yeah, we're gonna go long. Fuck it. But the thing, I don't even have work tomorrow. But the thing that's actually fascinating to me is that I always looked at time like in the 50s, 60s, 70s as being so long ago.
Yeah.
But
it's
now
not.
that I'm older, I look at it as much more recent. You know, maybe it's with kids, maybe it's with getting older myself. But even things that I heard growing up, like, oh, you know, they don't allow, at least within my family. I'm not saying this was in the media or whatever, but my parents would tell me, oh, they didn't allow, you know, they didn't allow black people to live in Castro Valley or San Leandro,
Yeah.
they literally told me, hey, we're fortunate because someone liked us enough to live over in Fremont in this house. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been allowed to live here. In my lifetime, in our lifetime, literally there was on the books discrimination to say, no matter what your income is, capital class or not, you are black and applying for a home loan, fuck out of here.
Yeah,
No.
look up.
You-
Hold on, just so everybody can
Dude,
understand.
the house I
Hold on,
live
wait,
in
hold on,
in
real quick.
Hayward,
Hold
same
on,
way.
Blue, stop, real quick. Just say what you need to say, like right after what I'm saying. If you are surprised on what Prodigy just said, just Google redlining, and that will just that alone educate yourself. That's what he's talking about. Anyway, Blue, go ahead, say what you want to say.
No, I was just saying, like, Miss Venus and I just bought a house, and I was talking to my neighbor, and she's been living there for quite a long time, and she mentioned how she's glad that there's an interracial couple living in her neighborhood because that area was mostly white, and it wasn't for people of color to live there.
Wow.
Yeah.
And this isn't Hayward. Like,
I understand your frustration, and obviously I empathize and I sympathize and I can relate to it, Kronos, in terms of like where it feels like our forefathers and parents didn't make progress. Maybe I'm a little bit more optimistic and everything on that whole subject. I mean, yeah, when you look at it in terms of the whole big picture, I still feel we have made some progress, not in terms of what it is that we would have wanted and everything. I mean, I was talking to one of my good white friends or whatever. I'm like, sometimes black people just have to be happy kicking a field goal rather than scoring a touchdown or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's sad that we have to say that or have to be relegated to like, yeah, bronze medal, fucking awesome. We got a bronze. I'm still fucking excited about that, but it's still a bronze and everything. But it's still, like, I don't want to say that like it didn't matter because, and this is why I get so angry with some of the stuff that I've been seeing going on very recently with this whole Trump stuff, is that I feel that he is doing stuff actively and purposely to set us back from all the positive accomplishments that has happened that our forefathers did for us. Like, I will never, and I'm so thankful, and I've said it before to friends or whatever, I'm so thankful I am not living during an era of segregation where I could not, because my wife is white. I love white girls or whatever, obviously. I mean, you told me I can't holler at Lilo or whatever I saw her walking down the street or whatever, and you're going to tell me, yeah, that's illegal, we're going to lynch you for that shit? We go, that's problems and everything. So I even though in terms of like the big picture, yeah, things are not equal, and that's what they fought for. That's what Dr. King for, is wanted pure 100% quality. So even though that we are not there yet, I don't want to, and I'm not trying to say you're being dismissive of what they did. I'm not trying to say that at all. I am grateful and so appreciative that I do have the right to vote. My vote does count for a whole entire person.
Yeah.
I don't have to drink out of a hose instead of a fucking water fountain. and it's just like certain things like that. I don't want people to like. Those are major fucking accomplishments.
Yeah,
and I will talk about. I will. Yeah. And like I'm not trying to downplay what you're saying or whatever, because when you did say it or whatever, real talk, it did hurt me, because it hurt me that one of my brothers did feel this way about the progress we've made or whatever. And when I heard it was like 3 a.m, I'm like, yo, I'm like, it sucks, especially watching all this shit happen. It does fucking suck, but. Thankfully, we did, and I'll talk about it when I do talk about my conversation with my mom that I had about stuff that she experienced going on in Virginia. I don't have to worry about someone accusing me of talking to a white female and being lynched up in a tree in a 24-hour time period. There's some fucked up shit that does happen in terms of like law and justice for colored people, but I do feel a little bit comfortable that that should not be a reality for happening to me. And everything.
So this is
and
go ahead.
And then, and like I said, I'm not trying to tell you how you should feel. That's not what I'm doing.
I'm not thinking negatively. Yeah, I got you.
It's just I have a little bit of slight optimism towards the entire thing, and to try to push our conversation into this whole what I saw happen the other day. I took pride in my ability never to be able to say, I will never in my life have a fire hose or a dog sicked on me for believing that I believe that all people should be treated equal.
Yeah, but
never in my life.
But
and I talked with Lilo about this, and I was like, that's why I don't get worked up about this stuff, because I feel like I don't want to get on my soapbox and scream too loud. And I said this before that shit happened. I don't want to get on my soapbox and scream too loud about how we are being treated unfairly, because I recognize and I remember the shit that my parents probably went through that I have no fucking rationalized in terms of like, they just want to go sit in a diner and just chill at a countertop, and they're having fucking people just smash eggs and punch them in the back of the head, and they couldn't do shit. And if they're trying to peacefully protest and they're having German Shepherds, which I love my fucking dog, I own a German Shepherd, having him fucking attacked on me and just being like, bite that motherfucker, or having a fire department called on me just for standing there doing nothing and getting blasted and doing fucking cartwheels. I'm so glad that I would never have to see that happen in my lifetime to me or to any other person, whether they be a white person, Hispanic, anybody that happened. And then literally I watched that shit happen, and it was just like, it was almost like a karma thing, because I had been saying it. I was like, I'm numb to this stuff. Like, I've seen it before. I've seen it all happen or whatever. I don't have to worry about it. So that's why I don't get outraged. I literally tell Lilo this all the time. I'm like, that's why I'm not outraged. I'm not freaking out. I'm not in tears. And then I saw something that I know my parents saw in terms of chemical agents being used on people that are peacefully protesting. I lost my shit. I literally, and all y'all know me, and I'm a very cool, calm, chill person. I don't ever really scream, holler, hoot, ready to fight somebody. I lost my motherfucking shit or whatever. And y'all know my background. I've been trained on riot lines. I know what to do in like riot situations. I can't imagine, in deeper levels, I can't imagine being told to do that, me executing that order. But just watching that happen was just so fucking scary to me and mind-blowing. And I don't understand why people do not have that same reaction. And people are denying and be like, oh, well, it wasn't tear gas, it was smoke or whatever. Oh, pepper balls aren't the same as tear gas. Shut the fuck up with that shit. Like, and I don't want to fully transition into the whole Trump thing based on what. If you guys have stuff to touch on the previous topic, I lost my motherfucking mind when I saw that shit. I was shaking mad.
Well, that's
I have a question. Go ahead. I have a question for Cronus and Stitch. It's a legit question. So it deals with your it deals with your significant others. Do they know that at one point throughout these United States that it was illegal for you two to have a union? The reason why I leave Blue out is because they didn't care about if minorities intermingled. They only cared as if you married someone that was white.
Blue's not married.
No, but he's married to
No,
No,
a,
but
he's married to a
to
minority.
someone.
Yeah.
He's married to someone that's
okay.
Hispanic, and they didn't care about that. It was
Do
only
you,
about white.
do you think that people? Do you think people looking at the sweetness will just automatically
Yeah.
assume and not be
For
like,
real.
yo, darky, yo, colored boy, come here. I
Yeah.
gotta talk to you. Do you think you think that will prevent someone from putting their hands on blue if we were living in 1954?
Yeah, people saw the sweetness and they'd have been on my ass for sure. So.
What was that? Blue? Wait, we got an audience. What was that?
No, that was Prodigy laughing.
That was probably your last.
Oh,
Sorry, they got me.
Yeah.
They got...
No, it's just
But I'm sorry.
fuck. I forgot what I was gonna say now, because that shit was funny. Because it was fucked up, and it's true. You know, I mean, Stitch. You know, I'm glad that you brought it back to. I mean, you see it. You know what I mean? Like you see what I'm seeing as well. You know, you might have more hope than me, but it's just like it's there, and like seeing. So, and I'm glad that we have somebody that has a law enforcement background and somebody from the military background in this fucking podcast, because we can break down things from like a certain perspective that most podcasts likely can't.
Oh my god.
You know what I mean? So like from the military side.
Please get into it. Please break it down.
Yeah. Are we gonna bring up the Trump thing now? Can we do that?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
I'm down for it.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So if y'all haven't watched, I did a whole reaction video on President Trump doing his address to the public concerning these. I don't even know what the fuck he was trying to really do. I mean, I thought.
Grandstand?
Yeah, basically, that's a good way to say it. Grandstanding. Thank you, Stitch. But basically, what I was hoping for, because I tried to give people the benefit of the doubt. I was like, listen, President Trump has fucked up recently. Well, for a long time. All right. But he has a chance right now to be a leader and really rise to the occasion and take in this civil unrest and all the looting, the rioting, protesting, all that stuff. To like really be like, hey, I'm a leader. I'm going to start leading. I want to understand your problems. I need to understand why America is feeling this amount of pain and why you're doing this. And that's what I was hoping he was going to address. What I got was probably the exact fucking opposite. I mean, actually, it was the exact fucking opposite. I mean, seriously, I wanted him to speak at length about the death of George Floyd. Like, he needs to sit down for a fucking hour. At least an hour. That's minimum for me. Minimum an hour to speak about the death of George Floyd and the problems that minorities are having right now in America. Like, he needs to actually recognize the problem. He needs to sit down, or, you know, I understand COVID-19 is going on. People are kind of forgetting about it right now. But do fucking some goddamn Zoom calls, you know, with minority leaders in America and, like, sit down with them and be like, hey, you know, I understand there's a problem. Can you please explain to me what this problem is? But what he did was, he went on there and he talked about George Floyd for literally maybe 30 seconds, and then he went on a fucking tirade for the rest of the 7 minutes concerning, you know, we need to dominate the streets, which is law and order. And these are all dog whistling things, which Stitch will go into in a minute here. You know, I'll give you your time to talk about. No, I'm giving it to you.
No,
you're gonna have your time.
Speak on it, brother.
Yeah. No. I mean, you probably do a better job on it than me, but the fact that he was talking about the Second Amendment rights, when he was talking about law and order, talking about dominating the streets, shit like that. These are all dog whistling things that we're gonna break down here on the podcast. Even though we're going long, but I don't give a fuck. You know, if this is broken into fucking 2 podcasts, and I have to break down every single goddamn segment post, sure, I will do that, because these things are important. And I think that a lot of people that don't go through these issues, that don't hear the dog whistle, because that's what it's for, because people that don't understand it won't hear it, but the people that it's going to affect hear it. All right, when we talked about the Second Amendment rights, I just went through it, but it's just like there are things, and he also talked about getting the military involved against the wishes of the states. He said, listen, he called the governors weak, and he said that if you don't dominate the streets in your state, then he's going to do it for you. And that is basically the Insurrection Act of 1807. And what it means is that the president can use his powers to mobilize the military to pacify the American populace. And this hasn't been used since, I think it might have been, I think it was the LA riots. It was used, but it probably shouldn't have been used then.
LA riots were used, however, the governor asked for.
Yeah, requested
Okay,
it.
so it really
Yeah,
wasn't. That's not that interesting
Right.
like that. For me, that's a governor doing what he's supposed. That's
that's
doing
more
his job.
martial law. But but before that, in terms of where it's just we need the military needs to get here. Pearl Harbor was
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's like it's very rarely
This
used.
ain't Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, and this is not Pearl Harbor, even though for people, for minorities, it's been Pearl Harbor for hundreds of years. I mean, seriously, let me just throw it out there for you. But yeah, it's an act where you're literally asking the U.S. military to pacify their own citizens, and this is a huge problem. Listen, the military is a fucking hammer. I'm a U.S. Marine. The Marine Corps is the biggest hammer you can possibly yield in the
Chainsaw.
world. Yeah, it's not even a fucking hammer. Yeah, we are a weapon, and I understand that he's probably talking about the National Guard, but
It's his job to know these things.
yeah, he doesn't understand. Like the Marine Corps is not designed for pacifying peaceful people. Our job is to fuck people up. That's what our job is.
Kill.
That's what we're trained to do. Yeah, we're not trained to put you in handcuffs
Murder,
and be
death, kill.
gentle. Yeah, we're not trained for that. We're not. And I'm telling you this as a U.S. Marine. We're not trained to pacify people. We're trained to fuck you up. All right? So if it gets to like at least the Marine aspect, like we're beyond fucked. All right? When it comes to the National Guard is way more peaceful than the U.S. Marine Corps. All right. However, they are also not designed, generally speaking, to pacify peaceful people. They're there to occupy. If y'all don't know how the military fucking works, all right. Shit goes down in the world. They send in the Marines first with the tip of the spear. That's what we're called. All right. We go in there, we fuck everything up. The army comes in behind, and they occupy the area that we just fucked up. All right, make sure they're good to go. Make sure the civilian populace is okay. But we already went through and fucked them all up. All right, we're like the Mandingo, like fucking the world. That's what we do. We just go in and fuck shit up, and then somebody else cleans it up. All right, and then the Navy gets us there, and the Coast Guard, guards the coast. And then the Air Force bombs people. That's basically the way the military works, in like layman's terms. All right. And threatening the U.S. populace to use their military against them is so incredibly fucking stupid to me, especially at this point in time, because you're not even trying to understand why America is having a problem at all. And that's my biggest problem, is that you're not interested in why we're having problems, and yet you're asking the U.S. military to pacify their own people, but they're made up of those same people. Newsflash, this is a fact. All right, 57% of the U.S. military is Caucasian. The other 43% are minorities. So for you just to assume that they're all just going to be okay with pacifying people that are like them, you know what I mean?
For what cause?
Yeah, there's no cause. Like there's already
Breaking
been
into CVS.
Yeah, I want people to really.
Fucking murdered.
I don't want
black
to.
folks.
I'll say it to the people offline because I don't want to get pulled from YouTube, and I don't want to be on a fucking watch list. But what he's asking for from the U.S. military is only going to lead in two directions, and both of them are fucking fucked up. All right, one of them is more fucked up, and the other one is fucked up, but it's gonna have a better ending, but it's still fucked up. It's really fucking bad. It's really, really bad. Like Fall of Empire bad. All right? And I don't think that he understands. He's not a student of history, because when he talks about people that are protesting here in America because of injustices, he doesn't understand that this nation started by basically a riot.
Yep.
We were started because people saw that It's even for a more minor reason. It's because people are getting taxed too much. We're already getting taxed a shitload. Yeah, on tea. You know what I mean? And there was other reasons. Don't get me wrong, but I mean that was a straw that broke the camel's back. You know, but he doesn't understand that we were started on a revolution, and to not recognize that a revolution can happen again. I can't even. I don't know how to break it down any further for somebody else. We were started on a revolution, and we are very near that point right now. And we need a leader to come in here and be like, hey, we need somebody to de-escalate. Be like, listen, I'm ready to listen to what you have to say and de-escalate the situation, because where we're going right now with America is a very dangerous place, and we need to keep America going and thus keep the rest of the world going, because right now our president has abdicated his position as the world leader and actually as the president. And let me give you a better example. Right after he gave the speech that I was talking about, right before his speech, I was in the queue waiting for the speech to happen. There were explosions in the background. I was like, what the fuck's going on? It's gunshots in the background. I was like, what the fuck is going on in the background?
Mm-hmm.
Watched the speech. Then afterwards, I saw what happened. Right before he came out to speak in the Rose Garden, they used the state police, the military, and the normal police to disperse a peaceful protesting crowd. They shot at them with rubber bullets, and they shot at them with gas, with tear gas to disperse them. And what was it all for? So President Trump can stand in front of a church that he doesn't go to with a Bible for a photo op in front of a church. That's all it was for.
It was funny. I was just trying to search my hotel room to see if there was a Bible in here, just so I can hold it up and be like, "Hey, look, this is a book that I haven't read, but it's here."
It's not there. The Gideons fucked up.
No, this room doesn't have. Room doesn't have a Bible.
Ironically, when I was at the hotel in Monterey, there was no Bible in any of the drawers either. So I was like, "That's interesting," or whatever. But when I literally watched that thing happen live, I was I turned on for my little mini dose of daily what the fuck is going on today.
Yeah.
And I'm watching just from a strategic aspect of it. I watched the skirmish line, as it's called. I watched them push forward to where the protesters were supposed to be standing, and they were standing, and then get face to face. And I'm like, okay, this is odd.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going. I was like, I don't know what's going on, and like I'm sort of like talking out loud, like I'm John Madden or whatever, and Lila doesn't know what it is that I'm seeing or whatever, because she doesn't really understand.
We saw the same things, man.
And and it's like because they talked about how he was giving it in the Rose Garden, and like that was strange to me, because okay, you want to give this fucking speech or whatever, and CNN was kind of saying like they anticipate this to be kind of inflammatory, just because prior to that there was reports where he was hunkered down in his little bunker hiding, and et cetera, et cetera.
No, he was checking it out with me.
Yeah, he might be trying to show his use of force, make it a big Law and Order and grandstand kind of deal. So then, as I'm watching them sort of surround the protesters, and then they start pushing for no fucking reason. And like I said before, I'm watching these crowds sort of just trying to see if I see people doing crazy shit, and they just start pushing people, with people of color, white people, women, teenagers, or whatever, just start shoving them, dispersing gas and everything. They wanted to get into semantics about tear gas or whatever. Tear gas can be put into a pepper ball spray, or they can be thrown like a fucking grenade form or whatever.
Hold on.
It's still the same thing.
Yeah, Stitch, real quick. For everybody that's out there that is like buying the bullshit that's all smoke, you don't pop smoke to disperse people.
No.
No.
You don't, because they don't know where the fuck to go. Like, this is logically speaking. If you pop smoke on somebody, how are they going to know where the fuck to disperse to? They don't know which direction to go. It's so fucking stupid.
Smoke is to confuse people, not to direct people, not to go in a certain direction or whatever. If you're trying to hurt, whatever, I'll say it. If you're trying to herd sheep or whatever, you kind of, coach them in a way the fuck that is that they want to go. You don't just throw smoke so they can't see where they're fucking going and
Yeah.
expect them to go wherever the fuck. That's just going to cause confusion. And I'm watching them shoot pepper balls into the well, actually before that, I'm watching them start pushing people. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? So my immediate thing, I was like, something bad is my spider sense kicked in. I was like, he's going to say something ridiculous or whatever that's going to provoke this crowd to just be whatever. Or on a lower note or whatever, he just, for his own selfish purposes, he doesn't want the sound of people protesting in the background or whatever. He wants his audio to be clear and make like it's some fucking Instagram fucking photo or whatever.
Jesus.
So literally, as all this shit is going on, I'm watching them, the police. And also, another thing I noticed was that those shields said military police, which is another thing, because I was like, National Guard is not military police or whatever. But however...
Yeah, hold on, real quick. Sorry. The National Guard has military police. Any military force has military police. Just putting it out there.
Yeah, well, where it became like sort of semantics with me, because I was like, something's just kind of not right here, because like I know the National Guard is the National Guard and sort of like a halfway in between actual police force and whatever. But I'm watching them get out of like Humvees and all kinds of stuff, like holding rifles. I was like, this is not kind of the look that you want to have or whatever. This is like kind of like a Kent State sort of issue. Look up Kent State if you don't have an idea what it is. I'm talking about that. But he starts pushing him back, and so then he comes out with a smug look on his face, and he starts talking. And I'm, even though I can say I don't like him, I came into his presidency with just like, this is going to be some ridiculousness.
It's way worse.
Kronos came in with a much more neutral level than I came in. I'll fairly admit that, but I think we're both on the same level. This piece of shit.
I was wrong.
Off the wall.
I was wrong.
And I'm listening to what he's saying and everything, and when after he does his little like preface about I'm the friend to the black man, blah blah blah, I have black friends, I feel bad for George Floyd.
I have more than.
And that whole black thing was literally 30 seconds. If even that.
He also said he's done more for black folks than anybody in history.
Well, that was in a tweet.
He looked at his script. He's like, what happened to George Floyd was bad. It shouldn't happen. But anyway, y'all motherfuckers, I'm tired of this shit. And then he just started grandstanding and just like, he's like, I have no problems with peaceful protests. And CNN, and I watched it on CNN, just because that's what I kind of keep it to. It's a split screen because they're still trying to see what the fuck's going on with these cops pushing people. I'm a friend to the protester, and I have no problem. And literally, I move my eyeballs a half millimeter to the left, and I'm watching women and teenagers being pushed and shoved for no fucking reason on the ground or whatever. And he's like, for peaceful protests and blah blah blah. And also, this is at least 30 minutes before the curfew is enacted. Yeah. So you're gonna tell people, you got to be off at the streets at 8 o'clock or whatever. We all grew up with black parents or whatever, and your mom said you need to be home by 8 o'clock. And let's say she came outside when you're playing basketball and started whooping your ass on the basketball court at 7:30. That'd be a fucking problem or whatever, because that's not what she fucking said. She said get home before 8. You can't whip your ass at 7:30. That's fucked up.
Hold on, Stitch. Let's be real though. You couldn't say it was a problem. You would just shut the fuck up and take the ass whooping.
Idealistically, it was a problem, but that was a dictatorship. Black people's homes are dictatorships. It's not a democracy in our homes.
Yes.
However,
you ain't lying.
Exactly. So I'm watching this happen, and then where I blacked out for a moment or whatever is when he said, and I can't remember if I was holding Storm or not. Thank God I probably wasn't, because my arms might have went limp or whatever. When he brought up the Second Amendment or whatever, and I said, what the fuck does that have to do with anything going on? And that was the loudest. I was like, it's not even a dog whistle. It's an intelligence. It's an IQ like fucking status quo level.
But people don't,
because that had nothing to do with shit.
Yeah, people won't understand that though. People that are on his team, they won't even understand that. They're just like, yeah, I've got a gun. This is gonna be great. But it's like, they could come for you too. You know what I mean? Like this is
That's the whole point of the Second fucking Amendment, is to prevent tyranny and the government from coming in fucking your shit up and doing shit that you don't want them to do or whatever, because they just feel like, I'm the government, I can do whatever it is that I say. Yeah, you have the right to defend yourself against the fucking government and bear arms and do whatever the fuck you want to. This motherfucker enacted something from the 1800s. Red flag. If you are enacting a rule from the fucking 1800s, maybe that might be something that just got overlooked for 100+ years, 200 years of something. So might have been something that just kind of got overlooked because whatever. They went deep into like the fucking cobwebs to pull this shit out. To be like, yeah. And I understand, and I mean, going through the training that I went through, you have to understand, before they give you a weapon in the police academy, you have to understand constitutional law. You have to understand people's rights, because as a government official, you are given the power to take away other people's constitutional rights or whatever.
Yep.
Whether it be their freedom of searching their shit, going in their home, or taking possession, or taking them into custody. The government is supposed to entrust you in that power that they're giving you, because you have to know that shit. You have to learn it. And if you don't do it, there are grave consequences for that. To branch off from that, you have to understand the powers of separation between state government and local government. In terms of, the government just can't come in and willy-nilly and be like, yo, you're going to do this shit because I said so. That's why we are the United States of America.
Well, I think hold on. I know you have more to say. So
jump, please chime in.
Jump in. It's hilarious to me that, you know, the Insurrection Act of like 1907. Yeah, it was super valid in 1907 because you know what? Years later, it was in 1807. Years later, in 1860, you know what happened? The Civil War. So yeah, then it was super fucking valid for that to happen because there were some serious problems, and I think that today they probably need to modify that because the Civil War problems are not the problems that we're having today. They're kind of similar, but we're on the other side of that. We're on the side of where everybody should have the same rights, and the fact that somebody's going to enact a law that basically contributed to the Civil War, but we're on the wrong side of that enacting it. That's a fucking red flag. Please look up your history. I'm not bullshitting you. Like, you can just Google shit. These are basic timelines. Okay. He's on the wrong side of this. Like, 100% the wrong side of this. And I don't want... America's awesome. Generally speaking, I used to love living here, but I've given me and K-Mac, my girlfriend, we have had very serious talks about leaving America. Because I don't know if I can raise my beautiful brown-skinned toddler here in America and feel like she's safe. For me speaking, like, don't get me wrong, obviously I run a risk. It's very, very apparent now, but I can handle myself. So I'm like, just whatever. But my baby, and my oldest daughter, she's more light-skinned than me. She's mixed. But her safety is also at, like, not even just the safety for the way that she looks.
She's got black features too.
She does, but it's like, just generally speaking, her future as far as like this economy goes is like, how is she going to get a successful job today? I mean, she has an interview for a job, but it's like obviously she's starting at the bottom, if she gets that, great, but going forward, what is her future going to be like when she needs a real, like, an actual career? You know what I mean? Like, I worry about shit like that. And I think that a lot of people, they're not concerned about that. But it's like, listen, we're sitting at, I think it's like 30%. Prodigy, you would know more than me. Please tell me the numbers, the unemployment rates.
We are at the equivalent of about 20 to 22% and rising. Did you hear me?
Well, yeah, which is fucking crazy high. Like, and this is what's contributing to this looting and riots. So I think it's one of the things that that is left out of this conversation with like a lot of the media is that we're at 20+% unemployment, and we're having this is in the middle of a pandemic, and people are looting and rioting because guess what? They don't have a fucking job. They don't have an income. There's nothing that they can do. What the fuck do you expect them to do? Because you didn't help them. The government is supposed to help people. You're supposed to be their safety net, and it is not there. And I blame this on both sides of the aisle. All right, this is what I hate about when people listen to me. They think that I'm like a left guy or a right guy, but I'm not any of those fucking guys. All right, the government should be there to help people, and both of those sides are continually fucking America. They're continually fucking you if you're listening to this. If you lost your job and you made over a certain amount of money in 2018, it's not going to help you today. That you ain't getting shit. The government is not there for you. You're probably not going to get unemployment either. And if you happen to get unemployment, you're going to have to continually try to get on the website that is down all the time. You know what I mean? And go through all these fucking hoops to get money that you paid into. You paid into this system, and you're not getting your fucking own investment back. You're paying into your own safety net, and the safety net is not there, and that safety net is going to fucking corporations. And that's a problem, and that is part of this issue that we're having with the looting and rioting. Don't get me wrong, there are people that are looting and rioting that are they're agents, they're provocateurs, there are people that just want to see chaos, but there are a lot of people that are fucking desperate right now. They're desperate as fuck right now, and they need to eat.
Can I?
Okay.
I was just.
Whoa, where are you going, Blue? What are you doing here?
You adjust.
You doing backflips?
No, I just wanted to show you guys something. So I'm in LA right now. No, I'm in LA right now, and LA had a curfew at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
And outside of my room is the 405 freeway, which is probably one of the busiest.
Holy shit! There's nobody in there. There's like 3 cars.
Like, there's like barely any fucking cars, and that's what I've been looking out the window. Like, there's nobody on the fucking road.
Holy shit!
LA's a huge city too.
Yeah. And the 405, like, it could be 2 o'clock in the goddamn morning, and it could be crazy fucking traffic.
Oh yeah, I used to live in Orange County.
Yeah, and there's ghost town out there.
Yeah.
But sorry, you were gonna say, Bobby?
I was just gonna quickly, slightly pivot. I know there's a billion things we could touch upon on Trump. I'm sorry that this offends you, so I'm going to offend some people, but I'm going to say it very carefully. God damn it, Anonymous leaked some shit, y'all.
Jesus, yeah.
I want to get to that. I just want to finish up the bullshit scenario that I saw.
Go ahead.
Because that's something that people need to talk about and address. So, and I'll just wrap it up real quickly. So, after that bullshit Second Amendment dog whistle or whatever, I was just like, what the fuck is he talking about? And I realized what the fuck he's doing or whatever. He's just saying, oh, what, my guns? Oh, yeah. I need to grab them, clutch them tight or whatever. And then I watched him go just to Peacock Strut to this fucking church to take a fucking photo. I was so fucking livid and mad, and like, I felt so bad for the law enforcement involved, because he put people's lives at risk. If you are a peaceful protester in the heart of DC, and let's just say you're a college kid and you want to be a part of a cause, just because I want to be down, I want to change stuff or whatever, and you know what? I'm gonna be at the Lafayette Gardens, right in front of the fucking White House, and I'm gonna be chanting, I'm gonna scream, and I'm gonna yell, and whatever. And while I'm there, peacefully protesting, I'm not throwing bottles, I'm not doing whatever. I am gassed, I am fucking pushed, I am having explosive flashbang fucking things going off around me. What is my opinion of law enforcement going to be like after that happened? And I feel bad because I don't know if I'm 50-50 I'm going to say 75% sure those officers did not know the reason why they were doing whatever. It's just like, all right, we need to clear this block. We need to push the protesters back to this street and this street, X location. So maybe it's a good reason. I don't know what the fuck's going on, but it's that dangerous part where it's like I'm just following orders.
Yeah. So can I give you a personal story? Like, this is a legit story. All right. When I was in the Marine,
go ahead.
when I was in the Marine Corps. All right. So when I was in Africa, I was in Africa, and like where I was at an embassy. All right, and the obvious where I was at was hot as fuck, and there's a whole bunch of other stories that I can tell, but I'm just gonna focus on this one. Everything was cool for like a long time. You know, we would carry out in the public because when we first got there, we were all geared up, and we're like, we can't be geared up. We just need to like take the gear off and just like covertly carry, and then we'll be fine. And then something happened. I forget exactly what it was, but it was something to do with Iran, and one of the guys above me, which is funny because he's local. He grew up in Livermore, and so like I actually met him in MEPS, which is like it's like before you get to the military, it's like where you process, basically. But he was like a sergeant, and I was like, because he was in a different job than me, so he got promoted faster. And I remember he was asking me to move a car, and I knew that there was like danger around us, and I was like, hey, like, you want me to move this car, but like, is there anything else you want to tell me? Like, I understand you want me to move the car, but basically, should I be careful about like what the fuck I'm doing? It's like, just do what the fuck I said. And I was just like, dude, what the fuck? Like, for real, like, you just want me to do what you're told? And I was like, I gave him shit, and I got shit for it, and I got reprimanded for it, but I was just like, dude, I don't give a fuck. Like, you just telling me to do something just because that's what you were told, and you don't want to explain to me the fucking danger about what the fuck you're saying, that's a problem. And that was, like, one of my first steps on leaving the Marine Corps, because, like, I'm not... If you tell me to do something that I think is morally wrong and that's going to put my life in danger for no reason or reason that you can't fucking justify to me, I'm not going to do what the fuck you want me to do. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not going to happen. Like, and at the time, like, I had a kid on the way, and it's like,
yeah.
All I wanted to know was like, hey man, can I possibly get fucking shot? If he had just said yes, good to go. Let me fucking gear up. Like, let me do what I gotta do. But the fact that you don't want to tell me, like, the danger that I'm risking, and that the fact that my daughter could have ended up, fatherless, and you don't give a fuck because somebody told you to do it, and you don't want to tell me the risk. Like, that's a huge fucking problem. And that's one of the reasons why I left the military, to be honest with you. Another reason why is because I realized, along the same lines, is because I had people that I realized that were above me that were fucking stupid. And the fact that they stayed in the military because they couldn't survive in the civilian world, because they couldn't survive questions, they couldn't survive, certain anything. There are certain people in power that are in power because they were, first of all, yes men, and then second of all, they will just, not only will they do whatever somebody tells them, but they will put somebody else's life in danger and not give a shit about them.
Yep.
And that is, and this is me as a military guy speaking, all right. And that is one of the reasons that I got out, because I had this first sergeant that I had when I was in the Marine Corps, and the guy didn't give a fuck about me, because when I was in the Marine Corps, I'll be totally honest with you, I was a network security guy, all right, and I'm obviously a really successful IT guy. I'm good at what I fucking do, all right? Nobody can dispute that. And when I was in there, I was like one of their top guys. I was like easily in their fucking top 3. And then I got back from doing the MU, the Marine Expeditionary Unit, back to my unit, and this guy was like, you need to march around these people. He was from some grunt unit. And I have no problem with grunts. Like, grunts are like the infantrymen, I have no problem. Like, honestly, when I was in the Marine Corps, I served to make their lives better. I served to like tell them who the fuck to shoot. I served to, basically enhance their I don't know. I don't know how to better put it, but it's basically
Their experience, their service.
yeah, just to help them out, you know. And I totally got that as a pogue, a personnel other than grunt for y'all that are not in the military.
Yeah.
I did it just fine. I have no problem with that, and I'll admit that as a pogue. But the fact that this guy who was a grunt, he didn't understand that, you know, me as like one of their top guys, he wanted me to go out and like march people around and like run them around, and I was like, dude, that first of all, and this is insult to injury. Insult to injury is that I extended my time in the Marine Corps after 9/11 happened. All right, to go on the MEU, and this is after I knew I was gonna have a daughter, and I likely would miss her birth. All right, and then when I got back, America decided to go to war with Iraq, and I was like, okay, like I just got back from the MEU, you know, I've been on the MEU for like 7-8 months. If you're gonna send me, just send me now right away, just so I can get it over with, so I can get out. Because I hit with stop loss, which meant that I literally could not get out of the military. So I was like, just send me now, so I can get it over with, so I can fucking get back to my family. But then they fucked around for like 3-4 months, and I was like, dude, you need to let me out of here. Meanwhile, I'm dealing with this fucking asshole that's trying to get me to march people around and do all this fucking bullshit. It's like, isn't it more important that the people that I teach them how to do their jobs better, like their actual jobs better? Like, don't get me wrong, marching around is good for like teaching folks to like for discipline, but we were not fucking recruits. Like, we all know how to march. It's more important for us to learn how to do our jobs to help people. You know what I mean? But he didn't fucking get that. He wanted me to march around, do fucking bullshit. And I was like, you know what? I'm getting the fuck out of here. And I was done. That was my honest opinion with my time in the military. I was just like, it got to a point where I was like, fuck this. And I literally had to request mask. And what that means is I actually went over my superiors to get the fuck out of the military. And that's how strongly I felt about that. And the hilarious part is that it got initially declined because the problem was that my ex-wife, she got it. We were both Marines in the same fucking unit. All right. She got out because she had a family. I'm like, well, I'm in the same fucking family. Listen, if you want to send me now. But they didn't send me anywhere. I'm like, all right, well, just let me fucking get out. So I had to request mask. And they were just like, well, no. And then eventually they were just like, okay, we'll let you get out. But it's like, that's my honest, and I don't think I've ever said this on the podcast, but that's actually why I got out of the military. I could have been I could have retired easily from the military, but I got treated like shit during the last like couple of months of my military career because they didn't understand the value of certain people. And I think that's what's going to happen with the military today. Sorry, I hate talking this much, but this is what's happening right now with the military. When Trump threatened to use the military to pacify their own people, I told Kim, I was like, that shit ain't going to happen. Like, because you're just assuming that everyone in the military is just going to be good to go with Trump. And then when I saw General Mattis today, I was like,
that was great.
I told her, I was like, listen, there's going to be at least one entire unit, if not multiple units, that are not going to be okay with what the fuck this guy is doing. And this is going to lead to problems. I'm not going to tell you those problems. All right. I'll leave it to internal shit, but it's going to lead to problems. And if you are listening to what I'm saying, you can actually look up what I'm talking about. It's easy to do. Just listen to what I'm saying. Okay. I'm not going to say the actual words, because I don't want to get fucking on some watch list. But all it takes is a leader of a unit to stand up and be like, no. And he's already lost a member of his staff because he was like, I'm not comfortable with what the fuck you just did by dispersing peaceful protesters to go do a photo op. And then the next day, what happened? General Mattis, which is basically fucking Jesus to the Marine Corps, came out and said, I already knew because he put in, he did like kind of like a reverse dog whistle when he quit. I read between the lines when he quit. I understood what the fuck he was talking about. He has no respect for President Trump, and he knows the kind of weak ass motherfucker he is. And he came out today and he was just like, well, it's been long enough. This dude's fucking up. I'm gonna let you know what the fuck I feel. And basically he's saying that he's going totally against the Constitution. When you join the military, you join the military and you take an oath for the Constitution. All right?
Yep.
And that's what you protect is the Constitution. And he came out and took a stance. And this is one of the greatest Marines to really ever live. And it's incredible that I'm not surprised that he did it, because to say that he had the courage to do it, but his courage was never in question in his entire fucking military career. He's always been courageous. All right? But y'all need to really listen to or read what he said, his whole statement on what he said concerning our current climate when it comes to the civilian populace and the military. So for y'all that are out there that are listening to this and you're worried about martial law and you're worried about, the Insurrection Act, just read what General Mattis says and then read between the lines and know that he is not the only person in the military that believes that. Anyway.
You can't do that. You literally can't do that shit or whatever.
You can try.
You can, exactly. You can try or whatever, but essentially, and I was trying to explain to Lilo what it is why I'm so fucking mind boggled. I'm just like, this is bad. This is so bad. This is bad. This is bad. I'm like, he's looking over a cliff and just like kind of like teetering over, looking over a cliff. I'm like, this is some borderline Civil War type shit. If you are inserting the United States military in states that don't want the U.S. military fucking in it or whatever, essentially you are starting a civil war. We all live in California. If the governor of California is like, because normally when you need like the National Guard or whatever, the governor makes a request because of state of emergency, et cetera, or whatever. And historically, when this act is kicked in, most of the time it's because the states will ask for help from the federal government. That's the whole separation between federal government and states. States can do almost kind of whatever they want. The states are allowed to govern themselves, except in certain emergencies when they need the government to step in. The government doesn't just go sticking their dick in places. They're not supposed to go sticking their dick in pussy that they are not asked to stick it into. And essentially, he's just like, yo, you 50, whatever. I've been drinking. You 50 bitches over here. I'm gonna stick my dick in y'all if y'all ain't wearing satin panties or whatever.
Yeah.
Wow. And they're like, yo, I don't want to wear satin panties. Well, I don't care. I'm sticking my dick in you. It doesn't work like that. And he's just like, no, I'm gonna go in, and if y'all are not using this, then I will exert whatever means I can. I'm like, that's a problem. That's Civil War type talk. And for example, like in California, where California is notorious for just being like, no, we can run shit over here, and then we'll call you when we need you.
Yep.
He's essentially just be like, no, like you don't. And I was trying to tell Lilo, I'm like, that is a problem on the highest level. That's a red flag. I was like you were saying about the chainsaw. It was so funny. I was like, it would be like as a canine officer having a hyena as your canine, rather than a German Shepherd or whatever, and be like, yo, fucking Harley Quinn's hyena, go check this person for drugs or whatever, and it doesn't operate.
Yeah, it's like oh, do you mean rip their throat out? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the military, and that's why I reached out, because I didn't want to speak out of place or whatever, but I'm like, from my understanding, I was like, the military isn't trained on how to de-escalate situations in terms of like what they normally handle on a day-to-day basis. They are going into situations and from my understanding, it's just like, all right, what are our rules of engagement? Yeah. There's the Marines don't carry tasers. They don't carry they don't carry pepper spray. I don't even know if you guys carry like legit steel handcuffs.
No, we don't carry any of that shit. We carry bullets and fucking grenades, like in K-bars. Like, hey, guess what? If you don't want the bullet, you can get the fucking knife. Like, if you don't want the knife, you literally, we are trained to kill somebody with a fucking helmet. Like, that's our de-escalation. Yeah. Like, seriously.
And these are just Americans.
And just to go down that rabbit hole and like I'm just like when I'm just like explaining the whole concept of how incredibly scary and bad that is society as a general. We love our troops, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Troops are good, or whatever. Respect the troops, etc., etc. Let I'm just saying this in general, or whatever. Let a troop acting under orders kill just some random dude on American soil. How bad? You think we would have salute to service in the NFL if all of a sudden troops were just fucking killing people on the soil, and it's no fault of the troops. It's that's why I'm so pissed that he's saying I'll give the fucking order. You can't. First of all, you can't give that order. They would not execute that order, and it's scary to even think that you think that these people are robots, that they would just go around like, yes sir, yes master, I'm gonna kill these American citizens because you said so. That's so bad. People have been saying like it would be like a Tiananmen Square kind of thing, which a lot of people don't even understand that reference in terms of like having tanks rolling through the streets or whatever. For what cause? Because you're because of looters or whatever. We're gonna just have soldiers walking around with M16s and not just like arresting people, but shooting on sight because essentially, it's rule of engagement. I heard a shot go off or someone threw something at me. Here's catch this 5.56 by 45 round or whatever. It is what it is.
Like shit going on around me.
Wow. We haven't even talked about the Antifa stuff. Like,
go into the anonymous. Yeah, that's
hold on. I know everybody wants to get in and whatnot. Let me just try to carefully break this down. Look, Anonymous is goddamn back. They did a Mr. Robot video. I think it was on the 31st, Memorial Day or something like that. And they said we coming. They said we got fucking receipts for that ass. They said Black Lives Matter and the police brutality has to stop. And then less than a day later, they dropped a motherfucking bombshell. It is right now on, you can obviously search it on Twitter, you can search it on Google. I'm on Scribd. And again, I want to be really clear before I go into this. I have not seen independent verification that what I'm looking at and what we're all can see has been confirmed as authentic. I want to be clear on that. So
yeah, I have also not seen anyone come forward and say, "Hey, this has been authenticated. This is basically truth."
No, yeah, but just to be clear too, the flip side as well has not occurred in terms of someone independently saying that this is completely discredited and fake has not happened. And I want to be really careful on one other thing before I even dive a little bit deeper onto this. You've heard me on this podcast a whole lot of times on very sensitive issues of sexual assault or rape or some other stuff, and talking about due process and all of that. The reason why that important stuff, when you talk about the Constitution, due process, and law enforcement, and all that, goes out the window here is what's been released by Anonymous appears to be court cases, affidavits, settlement information that has already been settled years ago with Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, and very clearly underage boys and girls. Who wants to take this? I'll pause there. I can't hear you.
Yeah.
My bad.
What was that? Was that old Ninja?
I've been talking for a little bit, so I'll let one of the other guys jump in.
Sorry, hold on. Let me
Old
pause.
Ninja?
So I want to
Wait, real
I
quick.
wanna take
Sorry, just real quick. Prodigy, did you hear anything recently?
From Anonymous?
No.
about
like,
Anonymous.
like, no, not Anonymous. In fucking reality.
What?
Like
What?
an earthquake or something?
No, like gunshots and
Or
shit
a
like that, or
gunshot?
explosions.
I didn't. No.
Okay, sorry. Kamek was like freaking out because she was hearing like some shit. We live in the same city, y'all. If y'all are
Okay.
listening to the podcast. Actually, so is Blue, but he's not here right now. All right.
Old Ninja.
Oh yeah, we were talking
Blue.
about the FBI was investigating Trump back in 2016 about these alleged like underage meetings with the young girls or whatnot. And then, from what I understand, I think either the case was dropped or it just went away.
So did we give a disclaimer first? Because sorry, I walked away for a second.
Yeah, he did. He did. Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
Okay.
We did.
I gave the full disclaimer saying, just to be very, very, very clear, I'll repeat it. Anonymous has leaked what appears to be court documents. There has not been any, to date, we're talking on June 3rd, independent verification nor independent discrediting of the what appears to be court documents on Scribd.com, and that's what we are discussing. I have not said that this is gospel truth. I'm saying that Anonymous has leaked what appears to be court documents.
Mm-hmm.
That's the disclaimer.
So yeah, back in 2016, I know the FBI was looking into it. They're investigating a case during the presidential election, but somehow either the case was dropped or it just went away.
Was it part of Obamagate?
No, it was dealing with the sexual, statutory rape, sexual assault, about him paying money to have sex with an underage girl. And so I know that he was being investigated by a part of the FBI, but I don't know what happened in the end. So that's just a little.
I'm going to say this. That is one thing, and that's very important, Old Ninja. And I appreciate that context. I'm only going to really be. Let me just be very honest. I'm appalled by the sick ass shit that I'm reading on here. Again, it has not been independently verified, but if even half of this is actually true, this was an actual court case with underage boys and girls, and it involves the president of the United States, he's got to resign immediately. And everybody needs to be investigated for why this wasn't better known and discussed years prior, maybe before office, maybe while running. This is the most disturbing shit I've ever fucking heard. I can't believe at any there's nobody's addressing it. Nobody's even asking Trump about it at press conferences. I keep waiting for either this is all fake and don't worry about it, or hey, this is legit but don't worry about it. It happened a long time ago, or we're going to deal with it after Rona, or we're going to deal with it after the election, or we're going to deal with it after the protest. This is the biggest bombshell I've ever fucking heard for a sitting U.S. president in our lifetime. This seems bigger than fucking Watergate to me, if it's true.
Yeah, if it's true, I totally. Yeah, the thing to me is that the fact that no media outlet has picked it up, that's, and especially the left-wing media outlets that, I mean, they are so fucking anti-Trump, and they basically go in there and just trade blows with him all the time. It's insane to me. They are part of the kind of the problem between the go back and forth, and the fact that they have been fucking silent on this is very strange to me. They talked about him possibly pissing on people, on women.
Yeah.
And they're not picking up the story about how he might have raped children. What the fuck? I don't understand how
And
this
paid.
is yeah, and paid for. Yeah, I don't understand. It's not even picked up at all.
Again, this is what is in black and white. It's sounding like what I'm reading is there's been settlements for him and Epstein associated. He's named here as well, paying settlements to keep this under wraps or whatever. This is the most disturbing, the most disgusting thing. I understand everything with the Constitution, and I understand everything with the gassing protesters in real time. Dude, if you're raping children, you got to go immediately. Everybody's got to be investigated. What was going on with the Justice Department? What's going on with courts? What's going on with this fucking country? If this is half true,
yeah, just release a statement. Somebody needs to release a statement that's this isn't true. But nobody's even saying that it's not even true. Like that's what's weird to me.
Based on what I read, it looks like it's sort of a civil court document, because you can't just pay off money for criminal shit to go away. So that's what that's what that appears to be. So it would be on the onus of the people, the Jane Does or John Does, however they were identified in that court document, if they wanted, because I'm sure there has to be some sort of confidentiality agreement in it. Because if these are so-called sealed documents and everything, then yeah, I think monetarily you'll get fucked, and they could probably sue you. But for the greater good, yeah, you should probably talk about it. If this dude that raped you or whatever, you know what? Yeah, my bank account's sitting kind of nice right now, but I think you could probably start a GoFundMe, and you'll probably make up for all the losses that you might get penalized from that. Be like, oh, yeah, I raped you, but you weren't supposed to talk about it. I'm pretty sure America would have your back on that. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty confident on that. That it's fucking wild. If, like you said, I can't remember the amount of people involved in it. If it was like,
it's a handful.
Yeah, it's like 6-7 people, but it's just like it's morbid and it's fucking disgusting. And I mean, I never really the whole like, oh, Epstein didn't kill himself, oh, the Clintons had him fucking killed, blah 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 kind of stuff. Yeah, it was a joke, and I didn't really ever look into it too much. And I know there's like some sort of documentary on Netflix or whatever. But if this is so-called true, then yeah, you motherfuckers need to be talking about it or whatever. Like, ask questions. Why? I don't know why nobody's asking questions. I understand we have a lot of shit going on right now.
The Twitter account for the Anonymous was pulled, so that account isn't active anymore. But I mean, anybody can create a Twitter account, so.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we got two crazy things going on at the same time. Who cares if it's a third? Can someone be like, yo, you have anything to say about this child rape or whatever? And you can either answer you can answer yes or no. And then maybe we can start the discussion from there. But I've said it before. He's a narcissist who just doesn't fucking care. Like, he's just in his own fucking world of just empowerment, and he with nobody checking him. I don't know. He's surrounding himself with people that fear him, because if you question him, he'll fire you or replace you, and for whatever stupid bullshit reason he decides. But these are questions that need to be asked, and they're kind of important.
Yeah, at minimum.
Very important. But it's weird because the only statement that I've seen is that one of the intelligence agencies was like, oh, if this happens to be real, they stole this. This is stolen information. And piracy is bad matter. Type thing. And I'm like, well, dude, you guys aren't confirming or denying if these are true. You're just saying stealing is bad. So it's like, well, what are we going to see? Are you guys going to investigate this? Or are you guys going to just let this sit there? And from what I have seen so far, it's just sitting out there. So I'm like, well, what's going on with this? Like, did Anonymous make up fake documents? Or did they actually find something and people in the White House are too scared to speak on it?
Yeah, it's one thing if you find something, quote unquote, illegally and being able to use it in court. That's the whole fruit from the forbidden tree. Like, if you obtain some sort of evidence that you acquired illegally, you cannot use it in a court and everything. Okay. Ain't nobody asking about court right now. Everyone's asking like, yo, what is this shit? Or whatever. Like, you got answers? Like, because this goes beyond court. This goes with like basic human decency.
Yeah. This is the worst of the worst. I mean, other than, I guess, literally killing somebody with your bare hands or something, innocent people, this is the lowest of the low. And to me, I mean, the clock's already past expiration for me as a citizen when this got released 3 or 4 days ago, in terms of my suspicions being very high with you not addressing it. Like, this is not something that you could just be like, oh well, start whistling, no harm, no comment or anything. No, you can't no comment this shit.
Yeah.
The question. I'm blaming the media in terms of the media needs to ask better questions and more questions, and the White House needs to respond. The fuck?
Honestly, this is might sound ridiculous, but I feel like part of what's going on right now is like trying to cover that shit up. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not a conspiracy guy, but it's just like this is a perfect opportunity to cover it up because I mean, listen, if somebody were to accuse me of pedophilia, I'd be like, fucking no, I am not a pedophile. Like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I don't know where you got this information. This is totally bullshit. But it's been out there on the internet. And
You're not gonna get a no
It's a
comment
scandal.
from me on if you accuse me of pedophilia. I'm not gonna say no comment.
yeah.
So,
yeah.
like I keep saying it on this podcast, it's literally the Diggum scandal, but all over again.
The what?
The Diggum scandal. Basically, there's this one thing that's happening, you're trying to cover up with something else.
Oh
Anyway,
shit!
we have been going for a while, and I'm surprised
We have,
that people
yeah.
are still watching at this point because this
Yeah.
is our longest podcast by far.
Yep.
Yeah, but there's been
Yeah, we
so
didn't-
much. Literally,
We didn't
like
touch on a riot.
I started the podcast with saying what a difference a week has made, and so much shit has literally happened within the span of a week.
I mean, it has, but you know what?
That-
In less than probably 8 hours, my daughter's gonna wake up.
Oh,
So-
for sure.
And that's not the end of the
We can
podcast.
cut it. We
yeah.
can cut it.
I hate to cut it short, but so Devil Tank, if you're listening to this, if you can please chop this shit up, and I will actually make separate videos out of all this, where your timestamps are. However you decide to do it, I will make the timestamps because this is too long for most people's consumption. Even though there's people that are still in the chat watching, which I'm surprised. I appreciate it, but
We
I don't
love
expect
you.
anybody
I mean,
to sit here and listen to all
They
this.
came for the dankness, and
Yeah.
we brought only part of it. We
Yeah.
still got more for you.
Still got
So
more to
tune
say,
in next
yeah.
week, or watch this weekend because there may be some individual videos. So keep your eye on your channel that we have on YouTube.
Well, hold on. If we're all here, I just wanted to be clear. I do not want to commit suicide.
Ah. Oh my god!
Oh shit!
Can everybody else say that on the
It's
podcast,
funny.
please? We all got to say it.
Yeah.
I do not want to commit
it's-
suicide
Hey,
because I think there's going to be a mood, a Mardi Gras, something
Mardi
that sounds
Gras?
sort of to a Mardi Gras.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. It's very close
That
to a
might
Mardi
happen.
Gras. See, I like how you pick it up when putting down. Yeah.
Wait, did I miss something?
Yes, you did. We'll
I
explain
picked
it
it
later.
up.
Yeah.
I'll pick
so
it up.
I'm just gonna say,
Yeah.
if I go missing, I was practicing shelter in place. Just remember that.
Okay, I'm in. So yeah, I don't want to. I'm not trying to kill myself, but yeah, if I end up missing, if you guys don't hear from me, like,
So I have plenty of games to keep me from being depressed. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Just my only request though is just don't lie to the media and tell them, oh, he wouldn't want all this violence out in the street in his name. If I ever become a hashtag, no. I'm telling you right now on this cast, Prodigy is down with burning shit down. If I'm already a hashtag and I got it's on video and whatnot, burn it all down, goddammit.
Yeah, just go.
You have my permission if I'm dead.
You gotta go.
So-
You gotta go full Anansi. That's what you gotta do.
Yeah.
Burn the
See-
motherfucker, yeah.
The only thing I request, if my body's recovered, I just want the God and pallbearers, and if not, someone recreate it somehow. That's all. That's all I
Hell
want.
yeah. All
it's
right.
interesting. I'm like, I was just real quick thing. So since I'm in LA, I've been looking at Twitter to see like kind of what's going on with the riots, and literally there's only one video I've seen so far of somebody looting, and they're looting a store. It looks like it's an art store in Melrose, and it's like,
What? What?
That's pricey shit though.
yeah, there's motherfuckers stealing statues out of this goddamn building, and I'm thinking like,
It's going big.
who goes to Melrose to fucking steal stuff? Like what the hell? Like one guy runs out a golden statue. I'm like, what kind of Dave Chappelle show skit is going on right now? Like it's fucking ridiculous.
Hey, Carmen Sandiego
Yeah.
would be very proud of any museum
Yeah,
thief.
would.
You know.
Oh,
All right,
shit.
old Ninja, take us out, goddammit. We could go another 4 hours here.
True. All right. You just experienced Black and Black times Infinity. Check us out online on YouTube every Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m. Pacific, with Black and Black times Infinity, or B than BTI's BTHAN BTI, and then on everywhere you can see us online, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Spotify. Well, no, we're not on Spotify yet, but we're on Radio Republic, SoundCloud, Amazon. We have an app on there. Check out our official website, BenHadProductions.com/BThanBTI, BTHANBTI. And then on Twitter and Twitch, we're BThanBTI as well.
Watch One Piece.
Delete your browser history.
If I go missing, somebody please.
Continue to wear your mask. God dang it.
Yeah, the coronavirus is still out there.
Don't get that Rona. Watch interracial porn. I'm just saying.